Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sandbox Saturday stream. We're doing the Impact Game Jam Award Show. I'm Alex Florez, aka Kamisazi, joined here by the one, the only, the lost but not forgotten,
I got
prodigal
lost.
son, returned home.
Somebody's prodigy.
Wait, prodigal.
Good morning,
prodigy?
afternoon, evening, Alex.
Joseph the Vision X Matting. How you doing?
Doing okay, you know. It's been 1 week now. Man, I've been real tired after that 24-hour show. Dead. It killed me, but it was so fun, and I'm
Joe's
so
still
happy to be
recovering.
here for this Impact Game Jam. You know,
Joe's too
it's
close to 40. Like after you get to 30, you
oh my
can't do
God.
all-nighters anymore.
Can
And
you?
and so the idea of doing a 24-hour anything is bad for your health.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you know, Joe's maybe got a couple more of these before he just kind of evaporates into a ghost during the stream.
I'm gonna do a Thanos snap and
Yeah.
I don't feel so good, Mr. Twitch chat.
Yeah. I was gonna try to
Nonetheless,
fade you, but I didn't. I
yeah,
wasn't fast
my
enough.
kid asked me like yesterday, I think. She's like, "How old are you now?" And I said, "I'm 37." 37. And she's like, "You are not. You stop it." And I'm like, "Is that a sign when my teenage daughter is like, that's too old. You're actually going to be gone now."
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. 38 is officially middle-aged for the median. So,
Wait,
you know,
what?
we're getting there, chat. We're getting there.
I always
Yeah,
felt like
I mean,
midlife crisis was
76
supposed to be
is
like 50.
I mean, yeah, that's usually when people experience that, but 76 is the median age in the United States, so almost halfway, chat. Almost halfway. That means 38 more years of this.
Whoa,
You know what I mean?
we're halfway there. All right.
I'm gonna be grandpa over here talking about Impact Game Jam.
Yeah. Well, hi everybody in the chat. Hey, the Oaks on you, Sylvia and Henry watching over on Twitch. The BitFox saying he's the first, but not quite the first. How you doing, BitFox? Pispinu? I'm not sure how to say it. I've seen you in the chat before, but I don't know how to say your name. There's too many syllables in a row there for me. Day Electronics, Fashul, Temio, welcome everybody. We hope you are ready for this Game Jam Awards show. So, what is the Impact Game Jam? Let's take a look here at the Medium article. I'm going to share this in the chat. You know what I didn't do, Joe?
What's that, Alex?
I didn't get a giveaway form ready. Is that something you remember how to do?
Yeah, is that something I have access to do in
I
the
mean,
year 2024?
if you just
I'm
do,
not sure.
a Google form. And hey, Lucas is right. Is in the chat. Hey,
What?
Lucas. He's just vibing. He can't. He loves the community here so much that even when we give him the day off and we're like, go spend time with your wife, he's like, I'd rather spend time with you guys.
No. Dedication. Commitment.
Hey, Sheldons. How's it going? All right, so what is the Impact Game Jam? Thank you, Lucas, for helping with that giveaway form. We're going to get that set up. The Impact Game Jam has a 60,000 sand prize pool. Live awards. I don't know when that's going to happen. Probably right now. You can win lands and catalysts. And if you didn't register by May 6th, it's too late. I mean, it's really, really too late because we're doing the award show right now. The Sandbox Game Jam says that we're working alongside your favorite bands. Well, some of them are bands, but also brands. And a diverse group of creators ranging from fresh-faced UGC builders and artists to professional studios. Sandbox is by anyone for everyone. Let's build the metaverse together. Make an impact. Enter in the universe of, I'm going to say, radical exchange. I feel like that's what it's supposed to be.
I wish that we would have had it in like a readout, because I had my friend Kyron actually got really mad at me for
Did you say Hunter x
mispronouncing
Hunter?
this.
Specifically,
Hunter yes, actually, yes, it is Hunter x Hunter. And everything about me, he was like, it's Hunter Hunter. And I'm like, well, at best, it's Hunter Cross Hunter. Like,
right.
He's like, no.
Yeah, the X is silent. It's like, what is this, French? So, yeah. I've seen that exact argument before. That's why I was able to guess it, and I know Kyron's into anime, so like I knew what
So
was
is it just
coming there.
radical change?
Yeah, right. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it could be radical change, but I feel like it's a very Japanese thing to be like, we're gonna put a whole letter there, and
Hmm. Hmm.
and then say it's just like a plus sign that you don't say out loud. Um, However, this is said, radical change, radical exchange, I think both work. Where there is no time to rest in this latest game jam, where you have 3 weeks to create your game, habit introduction. It's a movement that seeks to rethink economic and political systems for the digital age. They believe that current technologies driven by capitalism exacerbate inequality. They propose new methods of cooperation and collective decision making. They use research and development to create new tools such as quadratic voting, common ownership, and large scale citizen participation. Read more about it here. And then they've got radicalxchange.org and all the information about what they're doing. So the theme reveal was to dive into a world of sustainable resource management, create games where players run a business, program, or other, while being mindful of pollution, poor working environments, deforestation, overfishing, and other unsustainable impacts. Requirements: your game must include a resource generation mechanic, your game must include research mechanics, your game must include building mechanics, your game must be clearly based on at least one SDG or a combination of two or more. I don't know what SDG is.
Got the SDGs listed just below
Oh, okay.
this
All right.
description.
Hey, there we go. What are SDGs? Sustainable Development Goals are a set of 17 global objectives adopted by the United Nations in 2015. They aim to address various social, economic, and environmental challenges to achieve a more sustainable future by 2030. These goals include ending poverty, promoting gender equality, ensuring clean water and sanitation, and combating climate change, among others. All right. So there's a lot of info in here about all these different things. Some gameplay examples to inspire the builders, and then all the information about registering, getting set up. But what we are curious about here are the prizes. So there's a prize pool of 50,000 sand, 20 lands, and exclusive Catalyst prize packs. You all know what Sand and Land is. You've been here before, so we're not going to go through what all that means. But first place is 15,000 sand, a 1x1 land, and a gold Catalyst pack. Second place is 8,000 sand, a 1x1 land, a silver Catalyst pack. Third place is 5,000 sand, a 1x1 land, and a silver Catalyst pack. Fourth place, 3,000 sand, 1x1 land, silver Catalyst pack. Fifth through 10th place, 1,500 sand, a 1x1 land, and a bronze Catalyst pack. And the honorable mentions each got 1,000 sand and a 1x1 land. All right. As usual, you have to be signed up with KYC or be a verified creator studio. We've got all the details about the Catalyst packs, the dates, all the usual stuff. You can read it all in the link I shared in the chat. How about we take a look at these games? Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, that sounds great. I got to tell you, Alex, I had to make a resolve. So Alex and I were having a conversation yesterday, and he mentioned the honorable mentions and that got passed through. And I realized that the last time we did a Game Jam Awards ceremony, we went a long time because I was like, oh yeah, let me read out these notes for every single honorable mention. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking this time maybe we'll just do that for the top 10.
Sure.
And then for those people who are interested, if you happen to have an honorable mention and you're wanting to know how you could get in the top 10, we'll do those review sessions intimately over on the Council Tech channel.
There we go. Uh, Quickly tell us about the council channel, Council Tech,
Sure. So
twitch.tv/the Council Tech, and the GMAE
for
show.
those people, who are interested in deep dives into these reviews, the
Woo.
process by which these voting sort of are done, I go through those in detail on at the Council Tech over on twitch.tv. So if you're interested, and you have submitted a game for the Impact Game Jam, you can ask at any point for a playthrough live on the show, and I'll give you a review of the notes that I already took during the voting process and the review scores that I gave during that voting process there, while also playing through the game live so that you can see what it looks like when somebody plays your game for the first time. And despite whether it is the actual first time or not that I play through the game, I still play it, as I say there, like I'm 5 years old, so that you can understand what everybody else sees when they play through your game. Why do we do this there? Um, the reason for that process is that you as a developer already know where all of your where all your stuff is. You know who to talk to, where they are, what the path of least resistance is to play your game. But when I go through and play your game, you're seeing it from a more raw perspective that you might otherwise have missed. So this has been known to help creators. I've seen creators that have almost completely redesigned their entire game after seeing how something they thought was simple and easy ended up being much more complex. So the interest of those tests are for not just after these Game Jam Awards ceremonies have already been conducted, but also before. So if you want to be designing for an upcoming Game Jam, the City Game Jam is sort of going on right now. I'm not sure if that one's finished or not. Um, or any of the others in the future. If you're on the way and you're developing your game, maybe you just got stuck and you don't know where to go next. We can take you through any tier of multiple processes to help you get further up on the list, because there are some of these games that we played through, and I know that Alex has put them into the the honorable mentions group, that could have definitely made it into the top 10 with some small adjustments. So once again, looking to help improve the quality of your work, because even if you did just get an honorable mention, now you're going to have a land. So you may want to make that game just a little bit better, and we can make patches and improvements to help you in the Builders Challenge that is live now and help you earn a little bit more sand. Whatever you like. That's what we do over there.
Yeah. So real quick, about the City Jam Paris, the submissions did close on June 27th for that. There is currently a public
Okay.
vote going on that ends on July 3rd, and then there's DAO voting July 10th through 24th. And then there's not an awards show for that one specifically, but July 30th, the winners will be published on the city estate. And if you want to learn more about that and get involved in playing and voting on those games, you can check out the link in the chat. And as always, they're all on the Sandbox's Medium account, so you can find them there. All right, are we ready, folks? We're gonna check out these games. I'm gonna read them off. Remember that these are in a random order. We do our top 10 in any order, and then we do the honorable mentions, and we will follow up with our top 4 winners after that. But before we get to that, we'll let Joe tell you what's working, what's not working with these games. All right, without further ado. Mayor's Quest by CraftPalm.
Dun, dun. Alex, let me pull up the details of Mayor's Quest.
Sure.
So Mayor's Quest.
We're good.
This experience.
We'll go back through that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool.
Reef Idolized by Greater Work Studio. So we only got like 10 seconds on each of these, but we'll loop through them.
Beautiful.
Wasteland Recovery by Arcadia X. A Helping Hand by Alamea Studios. The Last Tree by Muse Genie. Global Fever by AVL. Floating Haven by Sanja Studio. Wild Harvest by Gurum. Cosmic Colonization by Tobencraft. Having a hard time talking today, folks. TOM, Genbu's Travel by Ashura Studios. And now for our honorable mentions. Forest Guardians by 381 Games. The Settlement by Siberia Mood. EcoQuest, The Green Guardian by Dudidam Errolus Studio. Saving Ciargos Island by PandaPops Studio. Canned Tomato Soup by Marshall. The Blizzard by Happy Team. The Bloom Village by Innovation Team. Recycle Center Build Eco City by PGV Lab. Ylands by Majesty. Beans Village by Biaggi Solo. All right. So, Joe, we had some pretty cool games in there.
Yes.
PG Metaverse OG asks if Atlas Mission Run is there. No, but I'm pretty sure we just saw. I'm pretty sure PG is the same as PGV Lab. Am I right? Were you in the honorable mentions there? We're going to be playing Atlas Mission Run probably on Wednesday, I think. But let's talk about these games, Joe. Do you want to?
All right, Alex.
Oh, it's not PG.
So I've got a long series of notes here. Notes that I take while I do the official reviews for these game jams, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just one of many people, but I can give you my feedback directly to hopefully help these folks who got into the top 10 with the interest of, now that you have a land, where do we go from here? So having a land, having got some sand and some catalysts, you're probably going to want to participate in the current Builders Challenge or maybe a future Builders Challenge if there are more. Nonetheless, you'll probably want to publish this game to your land. Um, so I'm going to start with Mayor's Quest here. If you could, Alex, just bring us back to the very first
Yeah,
there, so we can see Mayor's Quest and kind of what's going on
sure.
in this experience. It's going to be a short piece of the clip, but nonetheless,
Yeah, I'll keep
the
looping it.
developer will be able to have a good idea. So,
Actually,
in
you know, I
Mayor's
can loop
Quest, you're essentially doing a small city management situation. But my notes here were that there was a good use of management in this experience. There were also random effects or random events in the experience.
it. Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of each day, you may have a new event happen, or at the end of each day. I can't remember off the top of my head. But random events felt balanced. Actions had pros and cons. And for me, what this one lacked was an infinite replayability. So after 1 year of play, when you play through this city sim, there is a timer that's sort of going on. The end of a day is actually sort of the end of a month. So you'll go through 12 different phases in this experience. Um, and after a year of play, the game stops, which I felt was a detriment. What I would like to see is an infinite playability on this, and maybe it's not infinite. Maybe it's just completing the city. But we're seeing good things because there's positives and negatives that happen from the impact that you make on this city.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but once again, after 12 phases or 12 months go by, the game stops us from playing, and I wasn't anywhere close to having a complete town. So there's a part of me that wanted to make sure that all of these sort of highlightable boxes where I can place a building, I want to actually complete this city, because there's good narrative, there's good impact that we're making positively and negatively. We're seeing the change that we're making in the world. Um, that would make a great game for the players just by making that adjustment. A note that I didn't have, if we're looking at long term stuff, the in Mayor's Quest, I noticed that there was like a chicken farm that's not pictured in the video here in the back. And once I had built that chicken farm, it was kind of easy mode to make the money that I wanted to make. So there's a little bit of rebalancing that I'd like to see there. If you were to finish this out, the all of the impact parts of the impact game jam, when I do place a building, what is the positive and negative of that? We're pretty much balanced except for that one building. So I don't know if I never placed the chicken farm, it probably would have been harder. But once I knew that I could place it and it was going to carry me through this, each time that I played it, I sort of was like, okay, I need the chicken farm first, and then we'll deal with everything else. Um, so that might be something to consider. But Mayor's Quest, I felt like was very good art wise because um, while the character, of course, is disproportionate to the buildings, it in theme made sense because all the other characters around were disproportionate to the buildings to the same scale. And it really did feel like a good city management game. So well done for sure on that.
It's giving me those
And
Sim City vibes, which I love.
yeah,
Um, Something that I want to point out about what you can, we've talked about this on previous streams about the Builders Challenges. It's a great opportunity to um, update your game progressively. So you may find in your initial testing that you play a certain way, but when you have a wider audience of players, they may find like, this chicken farm like really is OP. Like it's easy mode after that, and I don't feel any challenge anymore, and it gets boring. Or maybe they say, hey, it's way too hard. I need something to, I keep on losing on the first day, and I need something to help me get through that. Um, Checking those comments on your experiences and getting feedback on social media, Discord, and stuff from your community can help you make gradual updates. I mean, one of my favorite games to play on when I don't have something else to be doing, which isn't that often, um, is Bloons TD6, which is a tower defense game that has been getting updates for I think like almost 10 years now. They've made
pretty
a
close.
a
Yeah.
bunch of tower defense games, but this one specifically has been that company's most popular game. I think it's Ninja Kiwi or something like that, or Kiwi Ninja.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, it's, yeah, Ninja Kiwi, I think.
Yeah. And they keep on releasing new patches every few months. I frequently see that there's updates to download for it, and they keep on rebalancing, adding new content, whether it's new levels or new towers. So that's something that you can do with games like this: is you can have all of your buildings and all of your mechanics, and then go, I want a different kind of building. What happens if I put in a different kind of farm, or I add university where they are going to do research to unlock other things, and you can add new features like that. And as we've been talking about the Builders Challenge, something that will help bring players back to your game is having new features that update. Um, for the short duration of a Builders Challenge, you might want to have some of those mechanics planned out ahead of time. So you know that week one, we're going to unlock these things, week two, we're going to unlock these things. But when you're looking at your game for the next year, you don't want to publish your game on your land and be like, Builders Challenge is over, put it away, I'm done with it. You want to keep that game up and keep people interested in it. So keep on doing those updates and rebalancing things and finding new ways to make your game fresh to keep players on there, whether there's a Builders Challenge going on or not. I said my piece.
Beautiful. Love it. All right, so let's move on to the game Wild Harvest,
Wild
as it
Harvest.
just happens to be on the list of where we were voting. It happens to be the one right before I voted for Mayor's Quest.
Hmm.
All right, so I was looking at Wild Harvest, and let's see. Once again, the comments that I leave here on these are not for the interest of being like overly critical, but always to be helpful. So forgive me if these are a little bit raw. I'm just going to read them as I wrote them. I write them just you know as we're going. So I wrote here: cute farms, nice animations, but could do with better timing and a grammar pass. So this is probably one of the more common criticisms that I'll make on a game, but it's always important that when you are, as most people are who are submitting for these game jams, when you are not English speaking first, right? You're multilingual, and very good of you because 99% of Americans are not multilingual. Um, Make sure that you enter in the text that you're going to put in your game into a Microsoft Word or a Google Docs or some other word processing software first to make sure, because it's going to underline when you make a grammatical error. And most often, what we see this come from is if you're using a translator software and you're translating from your local language to English, then make sure that when you translate it to English, click the sort of like flip it arrow and then translate it right back and make sure that it still reads back to you as well as it was written the other way. That helps you sort of avoid some of these small grammatical issues if the translator happened to be the issue. But nonetheless, um, details here for better timing. I had stopping to wait on the drying, growing, pressing, or grinding process for each phase of production means that your player is spending most of their game time standing still and not doing useful things. This is fine if the functions are automated, but it can be a bit boring. Before really getting a handle on how to properly farm, my BLS was reduced to a point where alarms were sounding and I hadn't explored all the areas yet. Make sure the player can have a very easy time getting up to the point of sustainability, then ramp up the difficulty after the tutorial phase is completed. And once again, this is one of the more common issues that happened with games here, especially as you're starting to think about adding in, tech level ups and things like that. Um, you would run into this issue where the game was immediately hard. And the recommendation that I'll probably say in the notes, I'll probably say multiple times here, is you want the player to be able to sort of get to the end of the game, um, like the first end, I guess, without really experiencing any challenge. You want them to understand all of the mechanics of each one of the farmings that they can do, and then from there, start to introduce things that might make it more difficult. So if I'm just thinking out loud here, this is a farm. Let's pretend like we taught everybody how to use each and every type of farm, and then the mayor says, "Congratulations," or whomever it may be in this town. Thank you for helping us learn how to farm. Now there's a drought, or now there's excessive storms that add difficulty after you've helped them, you know, reach their sustainability goal or what have you, they start to experience the new issues. But I thought Wild Harvest was really good in a lot of ways mechanically. And then another thing that I didn't write is a note that seemed like it was sort of exploitable. That I think I did a live stream with this game, so you might notice this is that at the top of a hill nearby this farm, I think it's like down and to the right, sort of up, of course, because it's up the hill. There happens to be like a seed procurement spot where you can just infinitely grab seeds, and that ends up breaking the game sort of mechanically because if you do things improperly here, there's a pretty heavy penalty. But if you do that and just go grab the infinite seeds, then you don't really have the penalty that you had on the difficulty curve. So once again, you're going to want to make it so that the player can complete the game, essentially complete all of the farms and all of the mechanics and learn all of the stations before there's a penalty, and then from there start implementing a difficulty curve.
All right. It is super cute though. I mean, I like these kind of
Absolutely.
almost
Yeah.
sort of Animal Crossing style graphics a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it does have that scaling. It's similar to the previous game, right? Where the scaling, the buildings are clearly smaller and cuter than they
Mm-hmm.
would be in the real world, which applies very well, especially having all of these animal, anthropomorphic type characters. It's really nice.
All right. What's our next game?
All right, let's see. I'm gonna scroll up before I scroll down here. Um, so I'm gonna go with the last tree.
All right.
Okay, so on the last tree, um, you really you get this really cool and interesting mechanic right away, right? Where the player has to sort of run around, and as a result of running around, you're turning these cogs that you see here on the screen. Now, this thing in the game is noted as something called a pulse generator. Um, I found it to be, and I wrote immediately, it's oddly tiring to run around the pulse generator in this one, but it's a fun and novel idea. Because what the goal is of the pulse generator is to generate a resource or an energy that can help you with upgrades and resources to save the last tree. And you're trying to save this tree from these sort of caterpillar like characters that are going to persistently come in what is ultimately a tower defense game. Um, but there really is no passive resource generation, or not much if there is. I can't remember off the top of my head. But rather there are choices to upgrade that pulse generator. So between the main phase and the main phase being this tower defense portion, um, and the resource generation phase, when you get to resource generation, you end up pressing AWDS, right? So that you can make your character walk around in a circle around this pulse generator, as shown here in the video. And just that AWDS, like in perpetuity, especially if you're trying to do it quickly, right? Like if as I'm trying to emulate this, I'm getting wrist fatigue as somebody who types all day long. That carpal tunnel effect can really step up as I'm playing through this. Um, However, that's cool. I still liked that mechanic, despite the fact that it was a little bit tiring. Now, my other notice said we're saving the tree, but we aren't highlighting why we're saving it or how we can add more trees. What are the perils of losing this tree? I'd suggest building up a narrative that happens between rounds as we run around the pulse generator that can help these people do more than just save this one tree. Upon completion of each level, you might see this progress as a series of other small saplings start appearing around the battle grid. So as we're going, you know, um, we're seeing progress that's happening in this sort of industrialized, almost generative area. because we are upgrading the zone to make the pulse generator better, but we're not really seeing progress in what was projected to be the goal. If this is the last tree, I think we don't just want to save the one tree. We want to make it so that the last tree isn't the last tree. We're making a real impact. Using the industrialization, we're making an impact to also help the ecological. It just would have helped the narrative beat. That's really all I'm looking for here. Because mechanically, while once again I did find that part there to be tiring, you've got this whole outside area that's very small, shrubbery, and maybe this is just a very small sapling when I'm thinking about the scale of it relative to the other things. But um, once again, let me see a few more saplings come in. And those saplings could have the same effect, maybe even less HP, be weaker, but they spawn out there. And they would be able to distract the incoming caterpillars, maybe. But over the long term, as you get really good at this tower defense mechanics side, you would not only be able to save the last tree, but be able to save the other trees that you had then spawned in the game. And the long term goal could potentially be to have this entire grid filled with trees because you're just that good at tower defense. But this is just ideas that sort of roughing in here. But really, the core being, I want to see a narrative more implemented into this experience. Because the tower defense parts, I think, were fine. Mechanically, they were good.
Yeah, I think if you think back to like Plants vs Zombies, you have those little sunflower plants that generate the sunlight that you need to plant your other plants to fight off the zombies. Um, having being able to plant other saplings would be, would maybe defeat the point of the name of the last tree, um, but would give the idea that you're expanding to have more trees because you don't want it to be just the last tree. You want to have lots of trees. Um, I do really like the interface and menus for this game. Outstanding. I mean, there's a bunch of games in this jam that had kind of unique interfaces with custom voxel art to display the interactions, and we see that being really cool with the rules system. People can now use the number buttons on the keyboard, the top row of numbers, to have other commands. So we see people integrating those into the gameplay as menus on screen, but seeing like you could see it just there for a second. I'll rewind. Um, as you do the tower defense mechanics, you can see the commands here. Trying to get to a spot where you can actually see it. Oop, I had it. I had it. It's difficult. It's a 37-minute long video of the gameplay, so it's a little difficult to scrub just a couple seconds. Um,
Yeah.
but you can see it pop up every now and then, and it looks really good with the colors. So the design aspects of these menus that are built into the gameplay just look really nice. And then you've got this cool research menu. There it is. That I got it, and then I lost it. You get this really cool research menu in this fountain off to the side, this little spring, um, with these gears. If I can find it, and it reminds me of like PlayStation 2 menus, like Final Fantasy and stuff. Just it looks really
Oh
nice with
yeah,
these
for sure.
gears.
Yeah.
So really excellent uh like graphic design concepts going on in this game. And also the board is just aesthetically pleasing. The giant caterpillars are cute and aesthetically pleasing. Great artwork all around. Really, really love the look of this game. All right.
All right. So
Who's our next one?
let's move on to Floating Haven here, Alex.
All right. Here we go.
All right. So I've got my notes here for this experience, and you can already see that the UI, or the layout of the game, is very different from what many games in the sandbox are providing. I think that immediately helped step it into a different category for me. Um, but that being said, my notes here say that this very much reminded me of Raft. Um, Raft is a game you can go buy on Steam, but very much you're floating on a raft and you're trying to cast out and grab materials that are coming on the ocean as you build the size of your raft and you go from island. I felt like I saw those mechanics in here. Interesting that I'm seeing in the video that someone immediately goes swimming because I literally did not even try to swim when I played through this. I assumed it was raft. Uh, the the hook mechanic and the way that the resources move around the map, it wasn't necessary for me to jump off of the raft, um, or the city to generate materials or to process materials. Nonetheless, I wrote a good retrieval similar to that game. I would have liked to hear more about how the gnomes, or more about the gnomes, considering that this was their place, and how more gnomes are coming out of nowhere to work each new tile. The design was clear, cute, and consistent, though it could have been slightly easier. Well done. And maybe it's easier because they are swimming, and I limited myself mentally to raft, right? I thought that I couldn't leave the raft. In that game, if you get off the raft, a shark gets you, you know. In this one, clearly that's not the case, but I felt that pressure um, going right away. But what you're seeing here in this trailer is that for each of these materials that you collect, all of this rubbish that's in the ocean, you're able to upgrade your city, your town, to potentially collect that in an autonomous way or process this depending on which type of material you're grabbing from the ocean. So, what I ended up doing was essentially having these production methods on the one side and collecting from the other. And eventually, as I mentioned in the notes, when you're collecting these materials, you're able to upgrade the size of these hexes. So it's not just what can you upgrade these small hexes to, but that you can upgrade the entire platform to be larger, as you see there. So the note that I mentioned about gnomes sort of coming out of nowhere is that each time that you build an infrastructure piece, there's a new gnome there. So when maybe it's when you get to these phases where the raft, I'm going to just keep saying it that way because that's easier for my brain. When that expands in scale, maybe that's a point where I'd want to see a narrative beat come in. But in terms of UI, in terms of aesthetics, um it not only meets expectations, but I think sort of exceeds it, because it does do something that people don't typically do in the sandbox game by using this hex shape. So it reminds me a bit more of like a traditional 4X strategy game, while at the same time doing things that we've seen in other strategy type games. So I just really really liked this game aesthetically, and thought it stepped up above a lot of projects. Um, I think that people will continue to enjoy that, but again, I want to see why I'm doing this and what impact it's making narratively, to see it, you know, reach that top end.
Yeah, I think we could imagine maybe the gnomes are coming out of those houses, but then it kind of becomes a clown car situation. It's like how many gnomes are living in this house at a time? Um,
Exactly,
so if we saw
and
something like boats coming in to deliver more gnomes to us, maybe they're coming from another village, or maybe gnomes just are like rabbits and they just reproduce really really fast. Which is a thing that I've seen in other strategy games, not unlike this, where you have where you can expand what would be your village tile in the center to increase the ability of the population, like to
yeah,
raise your maximum population. So you could potentially see another mechanic where um, you are limited in the number of these tiles that you can have a gnome working on by what your population is. So you also have to consider adding more housing to enable a bigger population. So that's a pretty common thing to see. But again, awesome animations, really cute designs, and everything is very consistent in style. I'm really loving the quality of the artwork that we're seeing in this jam and in all the jams. But artists are really coming alive here and making some awesome stuff. And Sanja's
yeah.
in the chat with us right now. Sanja's the builder of this experience. Uh, you're quite welcome, Sanja. We're here to help.
Yeah, and another thought that I was having too, if you want to clean up the narrative without making it too complex in terms of redesigning the game, it's also possible to just say that this is a static island. Because I imagined it in my mind, I imagined it like Raft, where the raft is moving across the ocean. But maybe you write in the narrative that the tides move trash, and this is the last habitable island on Gnome World, or something like that. But the you could write that they've been underground on this island for many years, or something like that. That makes that one little housing unit fine and makes sense, because then the gnomes just come up out of the ground as you build your island up in size. So, there's many different ways that you could approach this, but I just like to see each phase translate to some kind of a conversation about how this is really impacting the gnomes' lives. Um, just because that's fun. But nonetheless, this is a very good game. I really, really like this. And just wanted to see more, basically, But let's go ahead and move on to the next one here.
Sure.
I've got A Helping Hand as my next on the list.
All right. Got it up.
All
Another
right.
really cute one. These are pretty
So
much all cute.
one of the things that I noticed, and I agree with you, definitely, it is one of those cute games. The UI UX is very good. But I mentioned that it was, and this is a pretty complex way of saying this, but I wrote marred a bit by bad verbiage, which is to say that the way that you wrote your story wasn't as clear as it could have been narratively. Um, and this is one of those things that I think, again, came from you probably used a translation software and maybe didn't translate back, but it's not really that big of a deal. It's something that is, when I'm reviewing it as an isolated thing, I'm going to take into consideration. But when you're thinking about publishing this to your new land that you'll be receiving, you'll just want to work on that narrative a bit. If it's not something that this is English is your first language, then you can ask somebody for help. I'm sure lots of people would be willing to help you rewrite this just a little bit. But some examples: a plantation is a type of which wasn't quite clear on that being a way to fix sustainability. I wrote plants grew beautifully, but picking them caused the plants to explode, and you just saw this here in the video all over the map. So you can sort of avoid this by just making the picking process um, add it to your quantity of those assets. And you can still make the visual thing happen, right? Where the assets sort of explode, but the requirement that when those assets exploded, I had to walk up and grab the carrots or whatever resource that we had planted. What happens is you've got the physics turned on, so they do explode all over the place. And with that physics turned on, I then have to go and sort of kick that carrot to pick it up. But sometimes when they exploded, the physics would go crazy and they would go very far away, or they would fall in the river, and it became a little bit more of a chore than it needed to be. You could make it so that those assets spawn with a connected void asset that's invisible on them, that would void that carrot after 1 second or something like that, and just automatically give us the positive points towards harvesting them.
Yeah, see the
Because, yeah, you
beets
can see
fall in
here
the
again.
river right here.
Yeah, you saw them there. And
Mm.
another thing that happened that you might have noticed just there on that part of the video is when the beats did explode, um, the physics being turned on the beats actually spawned at head level, and it forced the character to automatically reflexively crouch. And this is just a automatic physics thing that happens in the game engine. But when the character crouches, now all of a sudden, for no reason, the player is walking slower, and they may not notice that they have to come up out of the crouch. And it's not a big deal in the end, these small things, but the small things do lead to small frustrations, or, like, just micro frustrations that might push your player to not want to play. They're trying to wonder, why are they slower? Why are they, oh, they couldn't grab that carrot because it fell in the water. And you just want to make that ease of access for the player, so that their actions contribute to positive or negative effects and not the game engine actions, right? But nonetheless, another thing that I wrote is using fertilizer before watering wastes the fertilizer while hurting the sustainability value. So we talk about the balance of the game. You did good things for the impact portion because using fertilizer on the land makes the crops grow faster, but negatively impacts the ecology of the land, right? But as I mentioned, using fertilizer before the water, it ticks that point of negative ecology while not helping the land itself because I had to water first, then fertilizer. And so if you could make it so that you've got a check for is fertilizer and is water rather than water first then only fertilizer works, it's you're going to help your game balance. um and then the last thing I wrote is
Unless
that
I
skill
would
is oh yeah, go ahead.
I would say unless that is the case, like I'm not a farmer, so if it is the case that you wanted it to be that way, you need to explain that to the player to say, hey, make sure you do this thing in the right order because growing plants can be complicated. So
That's agreed.
if you're trying to
Yeah,
educate on some good real world farming practices, I don't know if that's the case or not, but if that is the case, then you just want to
it's
make sure
definitely
that
not. It's
you
definitely
educate.
the opposite. You
Okay.
definitely fertilize before you water, but nonetheless, um
I don't know. All my plants
because
die.
usually you would fertilize the dirt and then you would inject the seed and then you would water heavily. But nonetheless, doesn't Alex is right. Mechanically, you can make it any way that you want, as long as you narratively write that in and say, player, remember, you must first plant, then fertilize, or plant, then water, then fertilize. And you
Mhm.
sort of have that in the way that the UI is, because it does say water, right? It says press E to, and you put in the seed, and then you water, and then use fertilizer. But it's just a note that as I was going through and sort of trying to speed run things, I ended up losing the fertilizer, and it hurt the ecology because I wasn't. It wasn't known that I could only do it in that way, and so I was trying to do it in just the most convenient way to me. And then the last thing is, um, it's actually really easy to let sustainability tick up by doing nothing at all. So there is a positive sustainability effect from the plants that you see here on the farm. So that's a great thing, and I think you did a great job. A person who wanted to play fast, that's gonna that's gonna work out fine. But if a player wants to be sure they can never possibly lose, they can just plant the flowers, or do the sustainability farm and walk away for 10 minutes and come back, and the ecology score is super high, and you've made no negative impact. And while that makes sense in a certain way, um, what I think you can do to fix this is to every time we harvest, then the ecology score goes up, relative to how many ecological, you know, environs there are. That would make sure that we can't cheese or cheat at the game as we play through it. Overall, still a great game, good balance. It was nice to see things like you're donating your harvest to the community when you're not selling it to the market, and there's lots of really good things here. And when we're thinking about what is 10th place and first place, generally I'm just thinking about the very small stuff there. So this is a great game and really well designed. Once again, cute and interesting. Just those small notes for me.
Yeah, I love those like need fertilizer icons and the little loading bars. It's so pleasing as a player to see stuff like that. Um, yeah. There was something else. About things ticking up while idle. I noticed that in at least one other game in the jam. I think it was one of the honorable mentions that if you if you entered the game but didn't start playing because there was like a tutorial portion at the beginning. Um, if you didn't end the tutorial and start playing by doing your first plant, the soil quality would go up uh, on its own. So that's something as a game designer you want to make sure that your variables that have a tick rate are only ticking when gameplay's active, like when the player has started the game. Because if you are basically on the first menu and your stats are already going up, then it is really easy for a player to, as we say, cheese it and just walk away, make a sandwich, let the game run for like 30 minutes, and then you've got a really high score, and then you start playing the game and you have all these extra resources or whatever. So that's an important thing. It's something we keep an eye on when we're doing QA kind of stuff, that we make sure that uh, these things aren't exploitable. So make sure that you're only turning on those variable ticks once the once the game is ready to go. Um, an important thing to keep in mind. Who's next on our list, Joe?
All right, Alex, let's go over to wasteland recovery here.
All right, here we are.
Okay, so I have a feeling, Alex, before we even get into this, I have a feeling that I might have, in terms of my text versus other folks' text, I might have been a little bit more harsh on this experience than some others. I haven't seen the list of the final results,
Okay.
but I just have a larger block of text here, and this isn't, once again, this isn't with the interest of negativity, but we want to improve the quality of each and every experience when I make my notes here. So the first thing, exclamation mark, great little builder. Said it's
Hmm.
nice to see a good narrative here, but it does miss the mark by assuming that the players already know the controls and uses some shortening terms like MMB for middle mouse button, which may be confusing for international players. So when we talk about the UI, the usability for this experience, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm talking about first-time user experience. If someone's never played a game before and they came here because you promoted your game, you want to make sure that in an isolated environment, they know how to play your game. Now, I also wrote, I would have also liked to see a negative impact on the environment score as we placed down energy producers. The game was too easy in this way, and missing the mark of the impact game jam rules, in my opinion, um, because I could just focus on building energy and worry about the environment score later. So that, once again, this is a for me thing, but I want to make sure that each time that you're converting these desolate, sad tiles to nice, good things, that um, you know that we're seeing the impact one way or the other for each different upgrade or position change of these assets. So, and then my last note here, I wrote, fires may occur too often, with the base having too low of health, and when the region burns down completely, this does not negatively impact environment score. And this is something that we may or may not see here in this video, but it's something that I definitely noticed. Once I had energy producers, and this may be how it impacted. 1 second, Howard.
All right. Yeah, uh, I'll let Joe continue what he was saying about all these notes, but
There we go.
uh,
I fixed.
oh, and he's back already.
Sorry, it's literally right behind my green screen, so I totally knew that you could hear the buzzing, but I was
Yeah,
like, it's too late. I started the stream.
yeah.
Anyway, so
It's been toasty.
yeah, it's really quite warm lately. But nonetheless, so the for me, what happened is I sort of was able to speed run and build up all of these pylons, and then immediately place energy producers around them so that I could get my resource number up for energy really, really fast. And that might have been the reason why fires occur too often, but there wasn't a clear narrative explanation as to why that was going to happen. So I think that's something to note when you're going through your tutorial on this game, which can be at any extent that you like. You want the player to know without a doubt exactly why, when they do things, other things happen. So for me, what ended up happening is the energy production was pretty good, and I was doing almost exactly actually what you see in this video, where I would put the energy producers on the corners and I would put the little flowers in the middle, and you could upgrade those flowers to like tree plots and things like that, and really increase the ecological index at the same time as the energy producers. So I'm doing that, but at a certain point, the game sort of says anywhere where there is a central building, there may be a fire on the whole plot. And you only have one fire extinguisher, and there's no building to help you solve for fires on any one plot, at least like once every whatever number of times, right? So what happened is eventually I was just running around with the fire extinguisher trying to literally put out fires on every one of these plots because they were all fully built. And the end game was that for me. And this is multiple different playthroughs. This sort of same problem came up. Sometimes I tried to focus more on the ecology, but on the earlier ones, I sort of maybe it's just me in the way that I played, but I always wanted the energy production to be up. Um, and I always wanted to develop all of the plots as well as I could, and then pretty much once again ran into the fire problem every time. So I'd see that as a small change. Once again, probably make a building that can help me with fires, or maybe that center tower can be upgraded to help me with fires, or narratively explain to me exactly how that mechanic is happening so that I know that I can solve for this problem. Because when the fire does succeed at burning down the place, which is only after a few seconds, um, the whole plot becomes unusable forever. All right, Alex,
All
what do you got?
right. Well, I just put the giveaway link in the chat. So while we're giving feedback on these games, you can go ahead and fill out the giveaway form. I'll be sharing it to Twitter in just a second, unless Lucas is beating me to it, as he typically does. But we'll see who gets there first. So we are giving away. Well, Panda didn't say if we were giving away any of uh, the equipment that we have been giving away. So we're going to do Wizzy the Orange's singed hat as the giveaway today. So if you haven't already won one of those before, you can go ahead and fill out that form. It is on Twitter now as well, from Alex Florez. Actually, you know what? Let me fix that because that looks suspicious. It's just a link by itself. um, Giveaway form. There we go. Now people know what it actually is. Um, so go ahead and fill that out. Make sure that you put your Polygon wallet address there. It's probably the same as your ETH address, whatever you see on your Sandbox profile, because that is where the equipment's going to go if you win it. As far as this game goes, I like the layout of this game. I think it's interesting having it all in this canyon. I did notice that in this playthrough there is a lot of fire in this playthrough as well, and this is a recording by the creator of the game. So I'm wondering if narratively if the fire is leaking in from the sides, because as we look past the walls here, you can see it looks like we are in this dry oasis in the middle of an inferno. Um, so maybe that's the cause of all the fires. But I do like that we've got various height differences to these tiles. It makes it look kind of like a real place, even though it's well organized for this style of game. And it's got some nice animations for the construction of these buildings. We see as each building is constructed, it's got this kind of wire frame that pops up. We see it a few times in this video, right there. So that's kind of cool. Good job on making some really interesting buildings and integrating all those animations like the loading bars into them. So yeah,
Yeah.
keep up the good work. Who's our next winner?
All right,
I almost said
Alex, we got
victim, but I mean you're
Cosmic
all winners here. So.
next victim. Cosmic colonization is the next one I've got here on the list, Alex.
All right, it is up.
All right. So as we're going through this one here, this is set in a very unique environment. The way that it's built, it's a bit different than anything else that really we saw, which I thought was good. I wrote here, while this was fun and different from many other ideas in its concept, the execution lacked a bit, in my opinion. I said, leave a constant reminder to the player of how to use upgrade features when we get back to the floating base. I could only remember how to heal the base and ended up in an infinite waves loop, essentially never progressing the planet's ecology and always fighting the same wave of four enemy ships. Maybe this was a tech, but an issue that persisted nonetheless. I said, mix up the gameplay loops a bit before publishing this to any lands that you may have. So I think for this one, I ended up in, and this is the sort of uh, space station that I was talking about, right? So as I'm playing through this, and I wrote those notes on my very first playthrough, but nonetheless, this is when we talk about first time user experience or use UI UX, you want to make sure that your player really can't forget about stuff. Sometimes developers make sure the player can't forget by making it appear to be a quest on the right. But for the most part, you really want to, I mean, honestly, you want to avoid that, but just make sure that every time we open up this UI for upgrades, that we get reminded of if there are resource costs, what are they? We get reminded of that these things exist. But for me, it was this phase right here that I ran into and it just stayed on an infinite loop. Um, so in terms of what we could do for this space, I thought that was really good. But what what I realized in my gameplay was it ended up being sort of flat for me. Um, and let me see if I can find another example without directly quoting them. Um, so one of the other judges noted that playability sort of needed to be improved, and once again, they noted that there wasn't much instruction. Um, so yeah, we really we want to work on the instruction in order to improve the quality of this particular experience. But once again, in terms of visuals, in terms of creating a unique space and a unique experience, I think you did a very good job.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I mean, the flying over the city this way, and even just like starting in space and then going to the planet, that's a really cool aspect. Now, I haven't played this game myself, and I've only seen like what's in the video for this one. Um, was there only the one planet to go on for this,
To
or
my understanding, yeah.
okay, so um, what would be great to see is, and we would like to see all of these games, continue on, and more features added as the game maker updates, more things added onto it, expand your vision, and keep it as an engaging experience for the future. But what would be really cool to see is doing multiple planets. I mean, you've got the space scenario, and then you've got this planet that you're colonizing. So it would be interesting to have multiple planets that you visit, different kinds of enemies that you encounter, different visual styles for the cities that you're building on the ground, and the way you transition between those things that you've already done in this one. Just keep on adding on to that, building up from that, and yeah, I think this looks like a really cool concept. So I would love to see this have some upgrades to make it a really successful experience that a lot of people play.
One other thing that I would probably note here is that I appreciated the nostalgia feel of the way that the spaceship sort of shoots those lasers, right? But I would like to see an opportunity for me to upgrade not just the town, but also my ship to make the process of defeating enemies easier. And so this can create a power creep. And that's a pretty common gaming term, but to make this clear, you want your individual power to go up and then also see your enemy power go up. So when Alex is talking about a variety of enemies, you've got instead of just alien enemies 0 out of 25 or 25 out of 25 health, we want to see UFO 2 and it looks a little bigger, a little different color, it's got more health. How do we deal with the more health? Well, the player just previously upgraded their spaceship so the guns are bigger. And when we shoot, we don't shoot just two lasers, all of a sudden we're shooting four. And we can then bring in some of the standard alien enemy, and then you can bring in other larger alien enemy as well. Um, and that's just going to help the experience overall for the player to see not just progress on the ground, but progress in the air and feel stronger as they play. Because, as noted in mine, it seemed like it was just sort of these four enemies were always coming through. And yes, we could do these upgrades in the lower and in the upper as we're building, but we're really not seeing like after like at this point in the video, right? When we get into wave 3 and 4, it sort of just feels like for lack of a better term, that the combat phases are in the way of the gameplay. You know, like they're a minor inconvenience at that point. We know what they are, we know what's going on, but we want to make it feel like the player gets strong and the enemies get strong, and it's a real struggle instead of just a thing we have to do between building phases.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have a gameplay loop, but it's not so good of a thing to have the gameplay loop be exactly the same every time, because that's what ends up making it feel like a chore. It's like,
Yeah,
man, I got to brush my teeth every morning. Um, like, that's what it ends up feeling like if it's not a challenge, then it's not as engaging. Um, and and yeah, as you upgrade your power, the enemy power should upgrade. So while it's a new challenge and it's a harder challenge, you are better equipped to deal with that challenge. So each time, there's a little something more to that loop. That loop becomes a little more complicated, a little more difficult, but you're a little stronger each time also. So you just keep on, you know, add an extra 5 pounds to that weight every time you go to the gym
yeah.
or whatever.
And there's sort of another thing that I'm seeing here as I'm just watching the video. Um, the shield particle bit you've got is losing health, and that's fine. That's good. But let's make it so that that also has a way to regenerate health because I'm not seeing that here. Um, and maybe that's something that you built on the ground. Maybe that's something because you know you've got some energy generators on the ground. So if you can build a space elevator that connects to it, so that we can fix that, and maybe that should happen right before it gets to zero, if that makes sense.
So
Something like that,
it
an
did
event.
just heal as part of the
Oh yeah, I see
there
it
was a
here.
crowd
Okay.
event that just healed it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not
Okay.
I wasn't quite following to see exactly what triggered that, um
Yeah, I see that. Okay. So I
but
just
the,
spoke too soon, and
yeah, but this is
well,
something like
it's
you can see, the you can see the mechanics get more complex as you go along in a lot of games. And like Joe was saying, having a space elevator, or having what's going on in the city being able to help you up in the sky, um that's what makes a lot of these games fun, is the ability to choose different strategies. So you could choose, oh, I'm going to build, like a manufacturing plant that's going to make parts for my spaceships and my drones and stuff like that. You
yeah,
could build a military facility that's going to provide extra fighter drones. You could build, a research lab to make more advanced weapons. You could, um, have all sorts of other things that get built into your city, that help you with the battle. So that there's all sorts of different things that you can do with that, and
mhm,
really the limits your imagination with it.
yeah. So I think yeah, you've got good stuff going on, and now when we add those layers of different types of enemies and different types of direct offense from the ship that you have, you're gonna once again create just a more engaging and entertaining gameplay loop for the player. Um, because the only real struggle, honestly, the only real struggle with this game is that there's just the four AI enemies that pop up every time, and they're the same four. So it will, you know, let's go ahead and move on, Alex, because I think that's a good game in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a couple more yet here to go.
Yep.
So the next one I'd like to pull up, if we could, is Global Fever.
All right. Here we go.
All right. So this particular experience is a mostly two-dimensional experience, which I thought was unique and was fun. So the first note that I have is the art direction in this one is fantastic, except for not replacing the player with a handmade character. Because the player is the only thing, besides of course the blocks, that really feels like it's three-dimensional, and all the other assets in this game feel like they were designed to be backgrounds in that SNES or like that Sega style, which is a beautiful art design. I really like that. um I said I had a bit of a tough time remembering the final overarching goal for the first purifier. And it seems as though emission rate rose based on the number of days, not the number of vehicles mining gold. Hard to tell. I wrote, good start, great game. Just need a little more clarity on the rules early. I ended up playing through this game many, many times in different ways. And some of the things that I ran into as I'm playing through were sort of as follows. As I mentioned, it didn't seem like the negative ecological impacts happened as a result of excessive mining. So, what I would end up doing is to make sure first, well, the first time that I played, I went down and I built every single gold miner very quickly because I thought, once again, resource production was the most important thing to do. But there are two-phase resource production in this game. So mechanically, it ended up being even better than I thought when it comes to balance. The first phase resources, of course, get gold, but the second one is get energy. So, excuse me. At first, you want to build all these gold miners, yes, but the energy producer is the sort of fusion generator, I guess, whatever that may be, on the top layer. And later, I would come to find that the more important thing was to have high quality energy or sort of fusion generators or whatnot. Let me see if I get the purifier. No, purifiers happen up at the very top. Nonetheless, um, the the goal of this game ends up being that we want to have air purifiers to clean the CO2 level down. And the CO2 level is going up, but because it just went up at a consistent and slowly accelerating rate based on the day night cycle, um, if you did things quickly, you would end up to a point of mastery very fast. But if I'm trying to decide whether this is a top 10 game, I would want to make sure that the player understands very clearly which resources are more important in this experience. But it's so nuanced and it has so many layers that I really, 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 really like this experience. If you focus on gold, you can generate gold faster. Okay, because you can upgrade the mining systems. You can upgrade the sort of fusion energy generators as well. And so what I did was quickly upgraded all the miners the very first time from phase one, two, three. The arts stay great. The arts stay fun. Like, look, it just changes the color. You get an extra laser. Beautiful. You love to see this. Um, but the later gameplay loop balance isn't as strong as it probably could have been because the second game playthrough, I didn't focus on the gold mining because I knew that it wasn't as important. I focused on the fusion upgrades. And because there's only four fusion generators and they can only be upgraded three times, that means the maximum difficulty curve ends up being upgrade those fusion generators to 12 out of 12, and you're pretty much good. I haven't got this far in the video yet, but after you are generating the correct amount of energy, your energy and your gold dictates your uh, ability to clean the air of the CO2 level. You use the gold and the energy to get upgrades at an upgrade facility up top, but you never have to upgrade your solar panels to make it work. The fusion generators are sort of battery storage, whatever it may be. Um, those things are fully upgraded now at 12. So if I'm building this um, for my replayability factor, I would probably want to take a few of those battery storages, maybe put them on multiple levels, or make it so that they only unlock at certain phases to make this gameplay loop a little longer. Because I would just come through and max these out to the green. Once you see here on this video that they're turning green, they're done forever. Um, so anyway, these get upgraded, and you'll go upstairs, outside, up and outside, and you'll eventually clear that fence. So when I wrote in the note that I had a bit of a tough time remembering the final overarching goal for the first purifier, that's because at the beginning of the game it asks you to generate a certain amount of gold and a certain amount of energy to take down that fence. But you can see here on the screen that there's no note for that. There's no indicator for it. So if you had made it a
There's no
quest,
quest on the side, yeah.
exactly. then I would have had the permanent note on the right that said, I need 2,000 gold and 4,000 energy, or whatever the number was off the top of my head. But that's just the UI UX thing. And then you can see the player here having difficulty climbing their own ladder as well. So the difficulty climbing the ladder could be solved by having made the character look 2D and not 3D, and then only placing the ladders flat on the back wall, sort of like the old Donkey Kong game. Not Donkey Kong made for Super Nintendo, but the really old one where he was throwing barrels down at Mario. You know, you just want that to be consistent, where all the ladders are placed in the same direction, so the game doesn't fight the player, if that makes sense. But overall, really, the body of work here is fantastic. And with these small changes, I think you've got something really special. It does seem like there's more space to work with because this is a 2D designed game. Um, you've got a lot of the land that you could work with if you want to build a second, third, fourth, fifth level. You
Mhm.
absolutely could by just having more, you know, deep layers of the same game, similar to
Yeah,
how
pushing further back
Tempest
into the
Studio.
screen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because Tempest Studios did something like this was one of their very first games. Not something gameplay wise like this, but visually. Um, and I can't remember the name of that game, but it also had one in the top 10 in the game jam, if
mhm.
not got first for great narrative. And they did that where they just worked with the deep layers of the game to make the game a little bit have a little bit more length. You wouldn't have to worry about balance of this one experience if you made multiple levels, I guess.
Yeah, and one of
Anyway,
the cool things you can do with that is, I mean, we can see it in the top. We can see there's background further back. It's giving that kind of that uh, Sonic 1 and 2 sort of look with the parallax in the background. If you had multiple levels going further back in your Z depth into the land, um, then you could punch some holes in the cave where you just visually see the future levels further in the back, which is just always a fun little
oh
bit
yeah,
to like excite people. Like, oh, what's back there? How do I get back there?
hmm
Um,
yeah, because you then it's also like an estimation of progress that maybe the last level is that the palm trees way back there are now in the very forefront
mhm.
instead of these deciduous trees that you see.
One thing on the ladder, so we do see that there are ladders that are up against the wall. Um, I don't think we have a way to have the characters not face forward and backward. We would end up if we were to do like a Paper Mario style thing, we would end up with them being like looking straight on at a sheet of paper, I think. But because we do see the ladders up against the wall, it does seem like those are easier to climb than when trying to climb up the ladders that are at 90 degrees to the camera. So that's I think was maybe a design decision to they wanted the look of the ladder being over there, but it does we can see that they're kind of struggling to get to the top of those. So um, that's just one of those things where like you test it and you realize is it really that important to have the ladder turn that way if it makes the gameplay more difficult? Um, yeah. Who's
Yeah, and then
next?
now that we're at
Oh,
this
go ahead.
phase on the video, I want to highlight sort of this last bit that we ran into, or at least I ran into as I was playing. So there is a weather mechanic that unlocks about halfway through. Right now that we've got that chain link fence down and we're working on the air purifiers properly, we've got mining that's working. We've got energy storage essentially that's great. Um, and now you're taking that energy and the gold, and you are building up these air purifiers that look like aircon units. But the weather is bad, and as a result of bad weather, because we've now presumably we've added pollutants in there because we're mining and we're doing all this. Um, you must use the highlighted sign there to build a research facility. And that research facility, it's like a weather station. It'll tell you when the weather is going to be bad. And conversely, it actually reduces the number of lightning strikes that come in. So the first time I played through this, I had built just two of these aircon units and I didn't have enough energy production, and lightning strikes were coming down consistently, like way too often, to a point where they were making it so I couldn't possibly produce energy, and I ended up failing the game here. So this again goes back to a balance check where you want to tell the player at some point that they've done a great job and they've won the game. And I think that that's going to be when we take down the fence and we build the first aircon unit. You say, "Great job. We've started to balance the ecosystem. Thank you so much. You're wonderful." And, really give us a sense of accomplishment. Like, we did it great. And then from there, say, "But we can do more. Let's do more." And we can start to implement the lightning strikes. But we should already have the weather facility built before the lightning starts to come down. Um, like, tell the player, we know this is coming. We know this is going to be a problem. What have you? Um, and then this can be you've already beat the game. You've already started to solve the problem. We've got the basis of knowledge for your characters, your world, whatever. Um, and then we build aircon 3 or 2, 3, and 4. And when you build number 2, it should make the weather worse. And when you build number 3, it should make the weather worse. When you build number 4, it should make the weather worse. When you upgrade the weather station, you should be able to balance that in the other way, because this keeps it in the focus of the positive impact that we make in the experience. On the opposite direction, you could potentially implement lightning very early, like as soon as we start to build mining facilities, we start to negatively impact the space. What that would do, good and bad, is that would actually slow down the player a little bit, because you know a player who's played once would realize they caused a whole bunch of lightning strikes. Then you'd want to probably rebalance your resource generation, but you can definitely, as you as you're doing this and as you're testing this, you can make the game about skill of the player and less so about fighting the game mechanics. Because right now, as it is, with 4 air conditioning units and no weather station, you're fighting the weather, you're fighting the game mechanics, and you end up digging a hole if you haven't got enough energy producers, where you literally can't fix the air conditioning units and your CO2 levels are going through the charts. UI UX, I think, is very good because we can see on the left how much we're purifying the air. We can see the emission rate. Um, the emission rate is just going to get worse over time as day and night cycles go by. That makes sense because the mining is consistently going, you know. But overall, anyway, a very good game, um, with just little balanced things that are going to make take it to the next level.
All right. Who's next?
All right, so I'm going to go to Ginbu's Travel. TOM Ginbu's Travel here.
Okay. I'm not sure what the TOM stands for. I'm guessing it's like Tales of something.
Yeah, yeah, it's on the title for sure. On the main page. I don't know if it's already published, but I remembered it being being there. But in this experience, the first thing that I noted is that it's got beautiful arts and good direction, but it was lacking some challenge. And so, as you first get started into this game, it properly implements challenge in the experience. And the dev actually made a special note. So we played this one live before the submission period ended, or maybe it was right after the submission period ended for this, on the council channel. And the dev was watching, and they actually left a very nice note over on Twitter. So they're familiar with sort of what process we're going through here. And I'm happy that the feedback that we were able to give was helpful to them. They should be making some adjustments to this. I believe they mentioned that they would for the Builders Challenge. So hopefully we'll see that as we go through. And I'm very glad to see that they were in the top 10 because there's a lot of promise here. But after the first bit of regenerative chopping and planting that you see here, the tutorial that's teaching us how to, make this world work. Um, the game very quickly starts to boil down to the next phase after this, where on the bottom left, you have 2 farming facilities. One of them can farm berries for food for the little characters. I think they're called news. Yeah. Um,
Mhm.
and so you got berries, so we can have feed the news that are here in the world. and then you've got tree upgrades so that we can build and upgrade facilities, and that also has a farm facility in the bottom left. And so very quickly, this early tutorial mechanic to get things kickstarted doesn't really have any value. And it ends up being buy a berry upgrade, buy a tree upgrade, wait a little while, do the same. And along the way, you're seeing there's supposed to be a peril. So the cool thing here is that there is an underlying story that we have learned. And that is that these little news characters live on the back of a flying giant tortoise.
Which is
And we've
awesome,
seen this,
by the way.
yeah,
Like, I mean,
it's a
let me rewind a
beautiful
bit so you
character.
can see it. It's right at the
Yeah.
beginning. You can see its neck and
Right,
head
you
there.
can see his sort of a head moving around here, and maybe it's not flying. Apparently, it's in water. I always thought it was flying because of the wind effects, but
We got
um,
some dolphins
anyway,
jumping there.
the giant tortoise. Yeah, there's some dolphins jumping in there, but the giant tortoise there. Um, I feel like this is a great opportunity for a narrative beat because we want to know why the news live on the tortoise, what impact they have towards that tortoise's environment. Um, and I was hoping for a little bit of depth. So here's the further note that I wrote. It said, allow the lightning to be explained as a part of the turmoil of the turtle being sick. So we have a lightning effect that's happening, and we know that the news are helping to make the turtle, um, heal it up. Let's bring it to its former glory here. So as lightning strikes come in, I'd like to see those create perils. Um, and things are going to be bad early, but we've restored them a little bit by learning farming, and we get things going. So I wrote, add depth to the reason why the news are there by having them repair the turtle's shell, which you don't see here in the video, and fix the lightning consequently. So if there was a, excuse me, like right down the middle there where you have those stones, if those stones weren't there and it was showing an exposed part of the turtle, and that has a sort of temporal effect happening, like a small lightning effect, and lightning strikes are coming down. This could be negative for the turtle, but created because the last news that were there maybe harvested the rock or something like that. You can create a narrative beat here that shows that these people are learning that their negative harvesting hurt the environment permanently. And so, right now, one of the cool things that you see mechanically is that when there are lightning strikes, the player does have to hide in the house. So we can telegraph that lightning strikes would possibly happen by having little stone bits crumble off of the edges of the walls. That's okay. We know a lightning strike is happening. Player has to go hide in the house, and then a lightning strike can come down and strike on the open temporal rift that we've got here in the middle, potentially. Um, and then have your impact be the news have literally built a structure and restored and patched over this. And then long term, when we talk about how you could potentially build this, the traditional view of one of these tortoises that I've ever seen, and I think this is from East Asian culture, I could be wrong, is that sometimes they have like a world tree grow up out of their back. Alex, have you seen this sort of thing?
I've seen stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking, and once again, the dev can completely throw it out. I'm not sure what sort of implementation they wanted to do, but the victory condition would be you've patched it so that the storms don't happen as often, and you now have covered up the temporal rift on the back of the tortoise, and then you literally grow the world tree as your like infinite replayability factor for this. And sometimes lightning is still going to come through because that's going to create its own issues, but you could literally create this mythological creature that obviously it's already there, but take it to that absolute top infinite tier, and it can grow on sort of forever that way, to a point where then your player has not only just a visual thing, but something that's just so cool that they absolutely want to share it with the community. And that can help reflexively get you more players because somebody will see I got this far in rebuilding the tree. How far can you get?
Hmm.
Um, so once again, you want to see I think you never want to see a victory screen. I'm pretty sure that's going to come up here at some point once we complete this. Um, because
The
you
video
want to
looped.
see, yeah. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But
This video is not long enough to show the end, but yeah, I think it
yeah,
does have an
so
end.
I wrote no victory conditions are better on a game like this, just celebrating milestones. And once again, it just hits all the marks about getting more players to play your game and getting players to play your game longer because you give them the little thing that's like, man, I'm good at this. Yes, I'm making an impact. I'm making a change here. So anyway, Alex, any quick notes from you, sir?
Um, Not particularly. I mean, I already talked about how beautiful it is, and you did too. I mean, it's we're again seeing the nice little loading bars. We got these little tree icons, little. I think that was either a, I think that was a bush there, or it might have been a rock. I didn't get a good
Yeah,
look at it.
as a berry bush. Yeah,
Okay, berry bush. Had little icons with little loading bars next to them, or progress bars, I should say. Uh, Great architecture, great rocks. I mean, just I'm loving the artwork, and you know that's my thing anyway is the artwork. So as PJ Metaverse OG in the chat on YouTube said, it's a beautiful map. It is indeed.
yeah, loved it. All right, so I'd
Um,
like to move on to revitalize, if you don't mind.
yeah, got another unique kind of vertical 2D platformer view, but not a platformer though.
Yeah. Yeah, in this experience, and I once again I played this on a couple of live shows. I think maybe just one live, but multiple others. I'll read out the notes here, and then we'll go over the details. So, spawn rates in this experience for trash seem to outpace the rate at which the recycler is hungry and willing to consume those assets. In what otherwise feels like a nicely designed game and well focused on the main point of the game jam, this made the game miss on playability and fun quite a bit. Because the player, it felt like, because as a player, it felt like I was fighting against the game designer. So I'm going to detail exactly what I'm talking about here. Um, and it really only boils down to one very small mechanic that you as a dev can fix pretty easily. So right now, when we grab these plastics and we take it down to this center facility, unfortunately, that facility is treating the plastics like prey, and the facility is acting like a predator function in terms of the game maker. And what happens as a result of that is the predator has a certain amount of number of hunger. And so I put it in quotes hungry. And once that hunger is satisfied, the predator is then unwilling to attack prey assets. And I'm pretty sure that's what you used here. Maybe I'm wrong, but you'll want to check these mechanics. What happens is if the player is really good, they go grab a piece of plastic, they swim straight up, find a very, very close piece of plastic, and they try to feed it again. And it doesn't work. And so the plastics are spawning then faster than I can feed it to this facility. And what you'll find here, is that the world is doing great things. You're upgrading the facility. That's why we've got these pylons behind it now. The reef is getting more beautiful. So we're upgrading the industrialized parts and we're upgrading the reef parts. And, everything visually is fun and interesting. But the gameplay loops are sort of monotonous on this one for me. We're always just swimming to a corner, grabbing another piece of trash, and coming down. It didn't feel like we were making a real solution to the root problem of trash in ocean. You know what I mean? And and we can clean it forever, but can we solve for new trash coming in long term to get to a victory condition? Or alternatively, can we make the process sort of feel a bit more automated? Um, and so it's sort of small things, but I liked the steampunk assets that are here. I liked the reef upgrading over time. I liked the fact that you really paid attention to what a reef looks like, not just in these like orb-like assets, but the fact that a dying reef will bleach out. It will become this sort of gray color. And a living reef will always be diverse and colorful and interesting. So I think you did some really, really good things here. But I want to, once again, I just want to explore how can you polish this to be a game that everybody loves, right? And that people come because they want to play this game, not because it's on the Sandbox game, but because you made something great. So that those are pretty much the only notes that I had for this experience. But you can see here on the video at this point, they're having a struggle fighting the hunger of the asset right there. So we want to make sure that the player is in control of their destiny and not the game mechanics in control of their destiny, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think you are right about the predator thing because I did see like a very brief flash. It's kind of hard to catch, but every once in a while when you feed the plastic, I see like a little red blip, which I think is the predator alert going something for me to eat. Um, could be wrong because it's just a little flicker. It's hard to catch it, but something to point out with that is while the predator and prey and farmer mechanics are cool and they're useful in different ways, for a game like this, you don't really need to use something like those mechanics because you can do all this stuff just with messages because these characters are not moving. The it's not a character. The recycler machine is not moving around. It can just have an area around it that senses when there's a recyclable and it sends out the messages to consume those things. And you don't have to worry about all the kind of fiddly settings of what's its hunger rate, how full does it get from eating things, and all the stuff that happens with the predator mechanic. You can make those things very immediate with the right kinds of messages. Um, but like Joe said, this is beautiful though. I love the backgrounds on this, and I love that we get to see the coral improve and grow, and the schools of fish come in. Um, this is reminding me of some of those classic underwater games, like is Echo the Dolphin. I think it's reminding me of like
Yep.
Donkey Kong
Yep.
Country swimming portions. I mean, it is a again a beautiful game. All these games in the top 10 here have just really been well executed in their artwork and design, and I love to see it. Was that the last one that we had
That
to give
was
feedback on?
indeed, Alex. So
All
now
right,
we've talked about all the notes. Now let's talk about who's winning. What's going on here?
all right. Well, we're gonna talk about who's winning the giveaway.
Whew.
It might be you. It
I
might
mean,
not.
I didn't submit. Just to be clear, it's not me.
we're gonna
Could be you. Wow.
we're gonna be playing the top four game jam winners videos. When those are done, I will have been done calculating who our winner in the giveaway is. You have just a few more seconds here. Maybe I'll give you like 2 minutes to fill out this form if you didn't already. It's if you're on Twitter, it's in a reply to the tweet of the stream. It says it's from Alex Florez at Kamisazi. Um, that's me. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, it's in the chat. I just posted it. Um, and if you have not already won Wizzy the Orange's Singed Hat, then you can have a chance to win that here in just a minute. And in the meantime, we are going to play the top four winners of the Impact Game Jam. So let me get that set up real quick here. I just got to get these things in order. Go to the screen. Joe's gonna move around a little bit.
Gonna wiggle.
It's just the
Wiggle.
yeah.
Oh, you moving me?
Yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah.
moving me.
And it's usually I like try to set up so that way as we transition between the scenes, me and whoever's co-hosting don't move around. But because Joe's camera is in a different spot than Lucas's camera, I moved it in one scene and I forgot to move it in the other scene. So
Can't
Joe just kind of
believe
does a little teleporting
Well, teleport. No big. It's really not even.
Yeah, just rearranging his molecules. It's fine. It's
Yeah,
no big deal.
Not the first time, Chad.
Yeah.
First time.
All right. So let's get our winner videos up here. And ooh, make sure the audio is good to go here also so you can hear the music. All right, we should be all set. Here is our fourth place. There we go. Fourth place in the Impact Game Jam goes to Wasteland Recovery by Arcadia X. So in this one, we had a lot of feedback about making sure that those fire mechanics made sense. We did like the building graphics a lot. We wanted to make sure that the narrative kind of explained what was going on, so that way the player had some good motivations for what they're doing. Everything was nice and clear. Did I miss anything, Joe? Just the
No,
Cliff
I
Notes
think it's
version.
yeah, that was definitely a good Cliff Notes version because I love the diversity of the assets here. Not just in visuals, but also the way that it's explained in the game, as they are different types of energy resource generators. But it really comes down to, I think, if it's how do we push this up towards number one, it's making the fire mechanics have extreme clarity as to why they keep catching on fire, because once again they can permanently negatively impact this particular game's experience. So, but really nice.
All right. And moving on to our third place winner. A Helping Hand by Alamea Studios. So we loved the interface on this, loved the cute graphics. Most of the gameplay seemed really good. There were some things that we wanted to make sure were better explained to players about the order of operations. And while the physics are really fun on those carrots exploding in the sky, it can cause some weird things to happen. So maybe setting that up a little bit more carefully so that way players aren't losing vegetables in the river or getting forced down to a crouch. Also, maybe a few grammatical things. I believe this team is from, I want to say, Indonesia, I think.
Yeah, and
so
if you look at the
the
feedback that we have for this, it really is the same kind of feedback that we would have given to any studio that was building, even in the old Game Makers Fund, right? Like, these aren't significant issues, which I think is a really good sign for, why is this in the top 3, top 4,
Right.
they're just very small things. Really nice game.
All right. Moving on to our second place game. TOM Senbu's Travel by Ashra Studios. Again, you got these adorable characters. I think they look like platypuses, kind of.
Yeah, a little bit.
They're like teddy bear platypuses. Awesome art direction. Well executed graphics. But would be cool to see the game mechanics tie into the narrative of the location. Maybe we're trying to help our giant turtle host here.
Yeah, and I think when you look at this as to what makes this a second place game right up there near the top, is you'll note that most of the feedback that we mentioned here on this show really only relates to stuff that's beyond the game itself, which means that, and this could be a good way for you to think about how you design game jam games in the future. if you're one of the devs out here watching live. Um, this game uh, completes on its own, and it's very well. It's a small, isolated bite of what could be a greater finished product.
All right. And to present our first place winner in the Impact Game Jam, Floating Haven by Sanja Studio. Sanja Studio, are you still here in the chat? I know you were earlier. Congratulations. You are our first place winner. I'll be playing this game in just a minute here. I'm pumped because this looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it does that thing that I mentioned before again, where it's unique. You know, that's just something that I think a dev should aspire to do when you're building a game, not just because you want to look at the player base that we have here in the Sandbox game, but you want to look at the outside player, people who've never been here before. So when you see a game like this and you see a trailer like this, you want them to say, that's something that I have not seen before. I want to go do this. I want to go try this, you know? So I think they did a really, really good job, not just in the UI that you can see here, but they did a good job of making just something new, something different. You want to see something different, and this is especially true if I'm just, you know, fully disclosing how it feels when we're playtesting through these games. If your game doesn't feel unique narratively and it doesn't feel unique mechanically, then often it sort of gets lost in the voting where, you know, like when I go back and I look through my scores and my numbers, um, the games that are unique feeling tend to have 3 or 4 points out of 20, 22 if you include bonus points. You guys have seen it on the GMAE show. Um, but they tend to have 3 or 4 points lower for me, where the unique games will usually be round about 20 out of potential for 22, or round about 19 for me. Like that one there, because it's just, it takes the monotony of that review process away, I guess, if that makes sense. Um, so that's something to aspire to. Making unique art does have really good value when you make these game jam games, and then making that art make it clear on what we need to do when we play has a really positive impact on your review score as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. And for the winner of Wizard of the Orange's Singed Hat, our giveaway today, that goes out to uh there's a lot of a lot of V's and a lot of M's. VVMVV.
Very
It's doing
nice.
like it looks like a squiggly line almost with all the letters next to each other. So my eyes were kind of trying to figure out where the V's ended and the M's began. But congratulations, you just won Wizzy the Orange's Singed Hat. I'll be sending that out later today. All right, let's play this game. Jumped into the Game Maker. Now, I am playing in 0.10.9, which is a couple versions after. I believe this game jam was for 0.10.6.
Yep.
I did try it out earlier, and everything seemed to be working. I didn't play till, even the end of the first day, but all the mechanics seemed to behave normally. So we'll see how this goes. Uh, let's let's see how badly I mess this up, because typically these strategy games I don't do so hot on the first go through. It takes me, I've got like a slowed learning curve when it comes to strategy type games, when I can't just jump around and goof off like I usually do.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too that's fun about this. Sandra, right? Sandra is the dev for
Mm-hmm.
this, so I'm glad that Sandra's here, because then you'll be able to see, once again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, sometimes devs will end up, they understand their game, they understand their mechanics, and they understand what makes the game, playable from their dev perspective. But then you get somebody like an Alex here who will play it for the first time, and maybe Alex makes a whole bunch of mistakes, you know, or they can't see sort of what things are. Um, I don't think I ran into too many. I thought it was pretty clear about what to do, but nonetheless, it is. I mean, as I mentioned, even in your trailer, you jumped off of the platform, which I literally never did, and still had a fine experience of playing the game. So it'll be interesting to see sort of how things go. Now that Alex has prior knowledge that Alex can jump in the water, they may play it very differently than I did.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting thought of something, not mandatory by any means, but an idea to play around with is if there's all this trash in the ocean, would it be safe to jump in? And I see that building purification buildings is part of this. So could we potentially make the water more dangerous, but as you build purifiers, you get a wider radius of safe swimming area to increase your collection field?
Oh, that would actually, yeah, that would be a fun mechanic as well. Like to maybe take, because you've already got the platforms designed, so it's also possible to make like a toxic sludge in the water, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So one layer could be clearing out the sludge, and then the next layer could be adding another tile there, like a constructible tile, I guess. But
Yeah.
that again, that assumes the dev wants the player to not swim in the water. So right now
Yeah.
they do.
It's an idea to
we're
play
fine.
around with. Just throwing things out there and seeing what sticks. And hey, Web3 from YouTube says Joseph the Vision, how are you doing? And hey, Alex, hey Web3, how you doing?
Doing all right, just hanging out, playing video games, having fun.
All right, so we can upgrade buildings. You right-click while standing on the center of the tile. Okay. Each day, more gnomes will join, expanding the community. Larger communities demand more food and energy. It's your job to meet their demands while preserving the environment. Okay, so I guess we don't see it on screen now. Maybe there's like another variable that shows up that shows the increasing population. So maybe they are just getting busy in those little houses. Okay, we don't see a variable for gnomes, at least not yet. There are 3 parameters of the community you must manage: food, energy, and environment. See the current status of these parameters on the left side of the HUD. It would be cool to see population total. So like we may see the food go down faster, the energy go down faster, the environment go down faster, depending on how we've balanced things. But it could be fun, if you're trying to do like a leaderboard or something for this, if the gnome population was like, you're trying to like repopulate the gnome world. That could be an interesting measure. You got a population of 100 gnomes or something.
Yeah, no, and to that point, if you do add that mechanic, then maybe when gnome population goes up, environment goes down.
Something I really like. Sorry to cut you off, Joe. Something that I really like that I just saw on screen is that the variables are showing up as the elder gnome explains what they are. The thing that is
that's huge.
One of the biggest barriers for me getting into a game is a wall of information that I have to figure out what order I want to learn it in. Or even if it is in a tutorial and it's kind of like pointing at the things, but there's just too many of them on the screen, because my ADHD brain goes, oh, that's shiny over there, and that's shiny over there, and that's shiny over there, and the tutorial's saying, hey, look at that thing. I'm going, but there's things over there too. Having them pop up through this conversation is really effective in communicating what things you're talking about, and I really appreciate that, because it makes it really clear, hey, new thing appeared on the screen, this is what it is. And that's a great use of the rules system to make those variables pop up on the HUD progressively.
Yep. Wholeheartedly agree with that. It makes it very obvious when you say 3 factors pop up. The second you click that, 3 factors, I already had looked at the corner of the screen where the 3 factors popped in. Look at this. Here we go. We've got days just popped in. As we start to explain, you've got a number of days. That UI change will probably pull the player's eye away from the narrative beat. But you go click, whoop, okay, we see those 2 new things. Now you might not even have to read what it said, because it pulled you to that visually. and you see what's going on there. So I think it's just really good implementation of using the frankly default sandbox tools UI UX, but you put them in there in a correct way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good understanding of how those things can be used. What? I jumped up on top of that floating truck. Is it a toy truck? I'm guessing it's a toy truck because it gave us plastic and not metal. And
Yeah,
it's also very small.
Yep, but it also has physics turned on, which is interesting. That's something I wouldn't have noticed at all because I stayed on the platform. Yeah.
Something's beeping at me. Oh, we're out of energy. We need energy. Energy. Hey. Yes, do it. Faster. And probably need some farm. And cost 5 wood. And probably need to purify. Dun. And let's do trash collector. So now we got one of you. Oh, not enough wood. That's what she said.
Gosh darn it, Alex. That's it.
Lucas
So
wasn't
here's
here,
another
so I had to
thing
do
that,
it.
here's something that I'm noticing that this would be a little bit more difficult, but could really positively impact your UI. You've got here these pluses and minuses that are popping up. I make 1 wood per 5 seconds. Right now, the player has to just happen to remember what their production rates, positive or negative, are. So the player has to look now, the energy is in the negative, or we're at 0. The food is going down pretty fast. We need to produce more food. And the environment is going down. But, at what rate does that happen? That
Now
I
we
think is
see it with
important.
little speech bubbles on each
Yeah,
thing.
right. You see that, but that's only on as you build it, right? That's not what is the
No, as
total
I run
math.
back over it does tell us, but it doesn't tell us the total. So we have to
Right,
actually
that's what I'm
look at
talking
the
about.
we have to look at the
So-
variables and watch them change. So I see food is going up, energy is going up, and environment is plummeting. Ooh.
Plummeting very quickly, yes. And so I think as a more advanced thing, I would like to see that total math somehow shown on the screen. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you could see the total math in a rounded number
The
or
rate of
something.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would. So unfortunately, we can't show that next to the relevant variable. Like, you could stack them, maybe. I don't know if there's enough slots on the HUD to show that many.
Yeah, I don't think so. If we're using the default HUD, it would definitely have to be something where you're pulling from the logic and then just like I said, showing a rounded number plus maybe to the half or something, to the quarter. I don't know. The quarter would probably be, I would say, too many logic nodes. It would have to definitely be buried in the game somewhere, all of these logics to make this work. But it's just something that, yeah, for ease of user, should be probably applied. It doesn't matter all that much, but right now you've got your food. Alex's food has been in the negative long enough, and it wasn't noticeable while they were under or out harvesting resources. But this is a part of the reason why I stayed on the island and didn't really move, because there's not a reason to go out into the water except that some things happen to be far away. The most important thing that the player could do to be doing this correctly is to stay on the island and upgrade their stuff to the extent that they can. And you can always throw a hook off as you're nearby, but
My gnomes are starving. Not enough wood. How much wood do I need?
something else is happening here. Well, you have lots of open platforms. You can just build smaller, but nonetheless. The something else that's happening. You have a community health number at the top. Um, the food is now positive, so you should be good.
Too late. Now
The
I'm out of
energy
energy.
production.
I know.
Use the no, I know. I'm trying to read it again because it's been a while since I played this. But it's been almost a month since I played through this. So
All right.
the community health number does go down when energy is at 0, which is interesting. The environment's already going down, so there's probably not enough clarity on. I mean, there's enough clarity on in a certain way because obviously number go down, but now you're producing energy at a sufficient rate. Alex, I think you just might be upgrading these too fast
Maybe.
because your food is now going up super fast, but your environment's taken. It's going pretty far down, and now your energy production is also in the negative at the same time. So and probably not try to upgrade them to tier 3. Just worry about getting them to base levels and even.
Game over. Yeah. No, I think I overextended too fast on things.
Yeah. You built too tall too fast instead of building wider because you have all these new tiles that popped up.
Oh, I can't restart from here? That's annoying.
Nope. But that's another thing that's important, right? Now maybe this is because it's in the game maker or whatever, but this is a super important thing for me personally for keeping people in your game. Boy, I mean, look at the positives and negatives.
It should
from
work
a
in the game
realistic
client
standpoint.
To restart.
If I click restart in the game client, Alex, this is an important question that I'd want to ask. Does that register as a new play with regards to the Builders Challenge?
I believe yes. That's what I was told yesterday by the community. Okay. That's the in their experience, they saw that number going up.
Okay. So if that's true, then that's fine. I guess I would leave that in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how it balances out with the math.
Yeah,
because it's the score is play time, like average session length times number of plays. So I'm really not sure how exactly it balances.
Okay. It would be interesting to know that number because as I'm thinking about this from a a realist standpoint, the dev probably wants, while there is a Builders Challenge active, they probably want to see the number of plays be more common. But assuming there's not a Builders Challenge active, and if there's a different revenue model for you as a developer, the core thing that you want to do in game design is make sure your player doesn't turn off your game. And that victory or defeat screen does make people want to leave more often. This is a principle that I learned quite a while ago when I was running an arcade, but I don't know if you've ever noticed, you ever been to an arcade or a casino, there's not a clock anywhere. They don't put clocks on the walls. You want people to forget that they're taking time playing in your game or experience. And as Alex mentioned, if this is a factor in the Builders Challenge, time played in game, you want people to lose themselves in your game. And when they do that, you earn more. If people play your game for 1,000 hours, that not just for the Builders Challenge, but in general, they're more likely to be emotionally invested in your game, more likely to buy products related to your game, that sort of stuff. So make sure that you don't have that friction in the way, in my opinion, of that victory screen to the extent where that makes sense for you as a company, as an independent game developer, because it reminds people to look at the clock every time they see a victory or defeat screen. They're like, oh man, I had an appointment. Oh geez, I gotta go cook dinner, whatever. If they don't have to care about other people in their home, you know what I mean? If they're just handling their own business, let them play your game until midnight. It's gonna be fine.
So I'm trying to instead of upgrading things, I'm building more base level things and see if I can balance it out.
I think that did you build trash collectors last time?
I built one, I think.
Yeah. So that gives you materials without negatively impacting the environment. Right now, your production rates are positive all the way around.
Oh, and it doesn't even cost energy, does it?
No cost.
What? Give me more of those.
You might consider just upgrading that, in fact, if you're going to upgrade one.
Yeah.
Because those two were just giving you wood per second. Ironically, not enough wood.
Hey, we don't talk about it.
You know, Alex.
Yeah, I know. Okay, wood and plastic. Not enough plastic. Yay, get over here.
I tell you.
Okay, I think all my things are still going up, right? Actually,
I'm really enjoying
my
the
energy's
fact
dropping.
that when I did that 24-hour live stream, Alex, I basically had a pantry on the left side of my
I saw.
my desk here.
You had quite the. Oh, you know what? The village, you get more houses as the village gets bigger. What's dropping? Energy's dropping. Oh, we're out of food. Ooh, we're starving.
Oh my goodness. You're building smaller, not taller. Remember, you negatively impact.
Yeah.
Just build a small one. Fine. Because every time that you make an upgrade, it's like building two of them, positively and negatively.
Yeah.
Your energy production is 0. Your food production is still 0.
Yeah. Oof. I get it. I'm bad at
People are
this.
dying, Alex. People are dying.
Things are worse than ever.
He's passively producing materials, Chad. So he's all right there.
Come on. How much food do you people need?
So much.
No.
Your energy production
those gnomes are so hungry.
Oh,
I was like 1 second too late. The numbers are going up already. Except environment's going down now.
Yeah, environment would have been.
No. Can I escape from here? No. Okay. So what I've noticed is in the Game Maker, the restart button is grayed out. But if you hit escape, you can restart from that menu, which is weird. Where's my avocado toast, Alex? Says Lieutenant General.
We don't do that here. You know what I mean? We're getting old. Now we're transitioning into the boomer group. Just kidding. I don't know.
I had guac on tacos for lunch, so
guacos even.
Guacos. Now that would just be a tortilla full of nothing but guac.
That sounds like a good idea to me.
Okay, yeah, no, I have done that before, but
Yep.
There was also rice and beans and chorizo and cheese.
Sandra, you're right. On land, you would be able to press the restart button. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why the restart button is disabled in the Game Maker. It's kind of weird.
But you can see a little bit as well that and this is my opinion. But I think all of your base tier 1 resource generators should really have like half the amount of negative environmental impact that they do. In my opinion, you want to make, I think, the level 1 stuff be the easy mode thing. And cool, we did the thing where we upgraded it to, almost the size of the land, whatever. But then at a certain point, you make it so that we need to have, maybe it's like after we get 2 or 3 layers of width on the
It did
island.
feel like they were getting hungry too fast for the number of farms to
Yeah.
satisfy the people.
Yeah, exactly. And like, because if I build one farm and I'm only having one gnome work that one farm, then there's not necessarily resource requirements. As we start building the tier 2 and 3 buildings, it makes a lot of sense, the sort of curve that you've added there. But right now, it's not, it should be just really darn easy to make those tier 1 facilities work and make sense, and then add a few passive generators, because we want to make it so that the player can get a sense of I did it, and then now that I've figured out the base, let's ramp it up and let skill-based play come in, because you want a player to um, get emotionally vested in it enough where they think they did so good that they post it up on Twitter or whatever. And then some other player come in and be like, "Oh, you thought you did good, huh? Because look at me, I've got this island." And so player 1, who just had all of the tier 1 stuff built out to completion, might look at the other person and see, "Oh, you got some tier 2 buildings, you got some tier 3 buildings mixed in there. It's starting to look like a city, a little metropolis situation." And once they have that, then you've got them. The first player would come back to your game and play again. The first player would be like, "I can do better. I want to do better." So Alex, I'm playing an interesting strategy here, starting off with resource generators first.
Yeah, if they have no negative impact, other than consuming a tile.
Yep.
Okay, we do need more energy.
Yeah, and right now, when more tiles came in, it seemed like it started to need more energy, because I didn't see the energy going down before. It was indeed PandaPops, the first placed experience in this game jam. So I also really liked it.
And we need more food.
And this one was made by Sanja in the chat. So they are here hanging out and learning how, how we're just bad at this game.
Yeah, but I think if I have more trash collection, then I'll have more resources to build up those farms faster, because that's what kind of killed me last time was I was running out of resources to build the new things that I needed faster than I could get to it. Now, something to think about. What happens if we build a solar panel at night? Because we upgrade from a water wheel to a solar panel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, that's interesting, Alex, that you mentioned that. But I would almost... Boy. Yeah, it has a day-night cycle, but I think it's more aesthetic. I would, because of the way that the tiles are tiles, I sort of just look at that as one technological shift, more so than what is a tangible whatever of this.
Mm-hmm. Now, does the community health go up at any point? All right, food's dropping fast. Oh boy.
Yeah, the new tiles that just spawned increased the population in the city. Right. If I'm guessing, that's not clear. It's not obvious. I would probably make that pop up and say that the first time you get new tiles in terms of a narrative.
I think I need to upgrade some of these.
Oh, they're
still hungry.
He's messing up the ecology.
They're still hungry.
Oh, the energy use. Oh, it's all going to hell. He's getting it now. Okay. What are you gonna do?
No, I need to collect. Trying to keep up with the food makes me spiral out on the other things.
Yeah.
That's why I was trying to get more of those collection things built sooner.
Yeah, and so again, when I'm looking at the balance, what I'm seeing is the community health. Um, the first phase beyond the initial whatever 7 tiles, you lost 30 points of health. Now the second phase, you're already lost 60. The game's pretty much over.
No.
Because you're not gonna be able to fix your energy and your environment fast enough.
Oh no.
Because you for
I'm
each
bad at it.
No, I mean it's understanding the game logics here as I'm thinking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
trying to help Sandra with the balance. Um you've got every time one of those 3 traits hits 0, it ticks -3 points
Mhm.
off of the thing. I'm wondering, is there a way to make it, and I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in the game maker. Is there a way to make it tick less than a full digit down?
Yeah, you can have floating point or you can have integer variables.
Okay, so then yeah, we probably make it tick a third of an HP per for each one of those categories, just to give the player more time to understand the game mechanics, and then from there work on the balance of that. I think it's just really nice overall, but you need people to it gives the player more time to see their failure, and then as you think about the way that the game scales up, it definitely, it's not a linear scaling, it's an exponential scaling. Once we add a tier 2 building, it's like adding 2 tier 1 buildings, right? And a tier 3 building, I didn't look specifically at the numbers, but I would guess it's like adding 3 tier 1 buildings. So with that sort of scaling, you want the player to have more time to react, because there is no UI that tells me exactly what my generation rates are, positive or negative. You want to give the player the ability to see the tick happen on the left and not be panicking, as Alex has had to do here. And I had to do the same thing when I played on mine, because especially because I was trying to play off the center island only.
Oh, I can't
Like,
even imagine.
yeah,
Being able to swim
it was
quickly to these
definitely
things makes a huge difference.
that's why when I was playing, I played like in a very I played more linearly in that I only used the base 1 buildings until the whole island was full, and then I went through and tried to use the base 2 buildings.
Yeah.
I also, because it was in this sort of like honeycomb like shape, uh, for no reason at all, I fully I fully just built interchanging tiles. So I did one food, then a resource harvester, then one energy, then a resource harvester, then an environment, then a resource harvester around this hex, and I kept that like chain, I guess, as I would always go out from the center.
Mhm.
And so if I had one thing that I was missing, I would know sort of which arm of the island to go to fix that problem without having to think about what UI like. I mean, it's really obvious, quite honestly, because it's on the screen. They look distinct and different. But as I started to upgrade them, I might forget like what. I mean, the solar panels is very easy, but I might forget which one a food producer was when they started to get like on the vines and becoming papayas or whatever they are.
I thought they looked like pumpkins.
They might have been. It's very small for me here now.
Give me the trash can. Thank you. All right, we're about to have a population boom. So food's going down. Energy's rock bottom. When did that happen? Need more energy. Energy's going back up. Environment's dropping. Food's dropping also. I messed up my organization. Food is now going back up. Energy's going up. Environment is going down. Okay, everything's going back up. Let's collect a little bit and build some collection things.
So I'm going to note balance, check things that I'm noticing here. What do you got? You got 2 open islands. So in order to be sustainable, a person would have had to have 2, only as much as 2 trash collectors in phase 1. Otherwise, they would have been guaranteed to lose in phase 2. In phase 1, you only needed 1 farm, base 1, 1 energy producer, base 1, and 1 environmental cleanly, a park. I guess they look like town parks there, in order to be sustainable. But once you get into tier 2, they immediately need 3 of each at base 1, or 1 tier 1 and 1 tier 2.
They eat so much! It's like having real life kids.
Yep. I'm guessing what you needed was 3 more. Let me see.
Food's going up.
If
Energy's going
you
down,
needed
though.
to go from 1 to 3, so you probably needed to go from 3 to 5 on each, which would have just been a total of 5 upgraded. And now I'm thinking, gameplay balance wise, it probably needs more verticality and more collectors than it does more width. Yeah, you need 5 total points, so now you've got 1, and you don't have enough plastic to make that upgrade. That sucks. More collectors would have potentially solved this problem. So yeah, I mean, Sandra, as I'm thinking about this, the way that this is playing out, as Alex is playing it, balance-wise, it really is just just cutting the consumption costs down a lot, cutting it down to 1/3. So if I do have a 0 on environment, it should be hurting my community health 0.3 instead of 1.0. I think that gives the player enough time to understand the mechanics and start to get into it. There will be some people who will fail at this phase, but there should be, if you do that, no one who fails at the second phase, and no one who fails at the first phase.
They're gonna need so much more food. I need more resource collection. Badly. Not enough plastic. There's not enough plastic in the ocean to save us. Brand new sentence there. What's going down? Food's going down. Food's going down.
Yeah, Alex, I think your collectors are just not upgraded enough. Because then you wouldn't have to worry about if you had plastics or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, you already have more immediate problems, but
Yeah. And we're out of energy and food. What? Ah! Okay, well I got through day 4. It was better. Most of the way through day 4. Okay, one more try. One more try. I can do
All
this. I gotta build those collectors early.
okay, yeah. So what you do is, in order to do this the most efficiently, you want to have 3 collectors immediately, and just 1 tier 1 of each. And then when that upgrade comes,
You mean when the
upgrade
island grows?
each of Yeah, when the island grows, upgrade each of your things to tier 2, and then build a tier 1 of each of them, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And then all the remaining tiles, build more collectors, and go grab materials to try to upgrade your existing collectors as well.
One thing to consider, and I did see this on one experience, which was good, was having a tutorial skip. So that way we don't have to talk to the old gnome. Start. Get over here. Get over here. You could have some like energy drink cans floating in the water. Give me a little speed boost. Because, you know, if I found a Red Bull floating in the ocean, I would totally. As long as it was sealed. It'd be so cold. Not enough wood.
See if you have enough wood now. I don't know what the costs are for that. Each one of those facilities that is built is a wood generator passive, so.
Cost 15 wood to build the first phase. And then it's
Okay.
wood and
So you need
plastic for the
more.
next phase. Not enough wood again. I was one short.
You'll need one more. If you just wait, it'll proc. That works as well. There you go. Beautiful. Now the thing to work on right now
Upgrade them
is
30 wood and 15 plastic. Let's see if I can get an upgrade before dawn. Nope. As soon as I started saying it, the sun started rising.
Yeah, so now you need to work on the tier 1 producers now, if you can. One more of the tier 1 producers, and then upgrade each one of those to tier 2.
Okay, energy's going back up. We need more food.
Focus on being, yeah, make sure you focus on being balanced first. Before you, you know, one of each of the small ones. That way you don't over, you know, restrict yourself. Like you hurt your environment a whole bunch before you could maybe possibly build that environmental upgrade. Now can you upgrade?
Yes. All right, positive.
Nice. Okay.
Everything.
Now,
Everything's going
positive.
up. Yeah.
All numbers are going up. Great. Now focus on upgrading. Use all the remaining tiles to build more collectors, and focus on upgrading the center collectors to add plastic.
I can do one more. 15 wood. Okay, I just need one more wood. Alright, to upgrade these, I need 30 wood and 15 plastic.
And you have lots of wood generation now, which is good. You have enough for an upgrade now. Okay.
What's going
now?
down?
All your resource production, you should build one more basic thing and upgrade one more of the ones that you already have.
Energy. Food's still going down.
Yep, because you still have to upgrade each one of those. So your energy is probably also still going. It is. So
Come on, food.
there you go. That should do it, right?
Nope.
Oh, it doesn't. Wow.
They're hungry gnomes.
I guess that it's going up now. Going up
Okay.
now.
All right.
So it's 2 upgrades and 1 new facility.
Okay.
So you've got.
We need another energy.
Yep.
And we need another purify. Me 8, 31. Okay, environment's still going down.
Yep. You didn't upgrade any of your energy producers or your purifier. Your energy production was fine. That's interesting.
Yeah. Not enough plastic.
Upgrade the smaller energy or the purifier. Smaller purifier could be upgraded with
Oh, is
just
that-
15 plastics.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
That was a medium-sized one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would maybe make the colors different on these, so that way it's easier to tell which tier it is, because the size difference, it's harder to tell. Just like the one crystal being slightly larger than the other, I wasn't sure what level.
So now your environment's going up, but you're not generating metals, and I think you're going to need to. So this time, focus on. Oh, dang! New day is here.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. This is where it's getting
plastic.
crazy out here. You're going to be negative on your food and energy at this point.
Yeah.
And your environment hasn't regenerated enough to really solve this. So
Okay. All right. Food first.
your environment's already going down from 1 basic upgrade of food.
Yep.
Yep. It's hurting. But the passive generation did help to, to help make it so you don't have to constantly collect. Are you? Wow.
Yeah, it goes fast.
Now it's going up. Now it's environment. Okay.
And I don't have enough plastic.
It's alright, you didn't have enough metals either, so try to build the small ones for a minute. And if you have so much wood that you don't have to worry about that ever again, basically, just, that's nice.
Okay. All right, we're going positive for a second here. All right.
Okay. Yeah. So focus on the environment.
I am very close to the edge here.
Yeah, all of them are sort of not producing enough. See, whatever generates wood, you just don't even have to care about that ever again. Like, never go collect wood, pretty much.
What are we at? We're out of food and energy. Nope,
Ooh.
too late.
Food and energy, everything.
So I think
that's an interesting thing that you mentioned really earlier, was that you don't have anything that actually improves community health.
I think
you only have.
Does the community, Sandra? The community health slowly goes up when everything's all right. Does it? It's hard for me to have like a long enough time of everything being positive to see if the community health goes up.
Yeah.
So I think I need to focus more on upgrading the trash collection than building more trash collectors.
Yeah.
Because if I'm collecting that much wood, it's because I'm not collecting the other resources. So instead of focusing on more trash collectors, I need better trash collectors.
Yeah, the assets that spawn in the ocean are clearly wood, and that almost all of it is wood.
I mean,
there's very little
cars, and I did see some plastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right. Like, those are out there, but disproportionately so it is wood. And so if you do the thing like everybody does, where trash in ocean must collect trash, you're going to end up with so much wood. And because the default generators or collectors are also dominantly collecting wood. When you build all the tier ones, you end up with just like a huge wood supply. But the something that you might set as an upgrade is um, that center facility that's there. Here's an idea. So in the middle, you've already got the city that you can build, or the city automatically grows larger. So what about what? Yeah, Panda. It's so much wood. It's so much wood. Um, what about if in the center facility you make something buildable there? And the thing that's buildable there would be like a holographic looking dome or something. So that would be potentially a buff. It could be prohibitively expensive even. But yes, a community health buff. So if you did that, then it doesn't feel like you're constantly running uphill, to make this happen. But this is really good. Obviously, it's really good because we've got the you can see the balance is working. It's just the tweaking and tuning of the balance because we were able to strategize.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
we're still figuring it out.
If we're able to think about it and make the strategy, then it works well. It's just, again, handhold us a little bit more, make the game easier so that I don't have to, do so much. Okay, so Alex, yeah, trash collectors first, I think,
because you do. Well, I ran out of energy, so I had to.
Oh, did you already? Yeah. Dang. Okay, sorry, I didn't see that.
Not enough wood. I need 30 wood.
Not enough wood.
Level 2.
Interesting. Ironic that early on, has now enough wood. Food is actually almost in negative supply already, and it's almost day 2. So, yeah. Wonderful. Wunderbar.
It's too short. Not enough wood. It was too short.
Happens to the best of us, chat.
Is it 10 plastic?
I think it's 15, but I could be wrong.
Oh, you're right.
Now every other thing is a problem. So.
Yeah, but I can.
I love the. You can tell this is a good game, chat, because Alex said last time, just one more game.
And I did better that game, so I know that I can do better the next one.
Yep.
And energy. And
that's good stuff.
A tier 2.
So Sandra, now that the game is, officially announced as first place, do you already have a land that you could publish this thing on? Or do you have to wait for the results of the award distribution? Yes. Okay. Go publish it real quick, and then link it in the chat so that people can. Yeah, maybe you have. Maybe you have. If you have, give us the link in the chat.
Yeah, he said he made it easier. I want to play that version. Okay.
Alex doesn't like hard mode. You know what I mean?
I am having fun. But our wood generation is already pretty high, even just with the 1. So I think it really was that we needed to upgrade a single trash collector instead of making a bunch of them. And we need metal. Dang. 35 plastic. And we need metal. What is it? Wait, what's running out? Environment. Ugh. Oh, I didn't realize the fountain was so visibly different.
Yeah, but that was specifically the thing that you said last time wasn't obvious enough because it only appears to get bigger. So it's still a good point that you could change the like little Sims like crystal or whatever that is
Yeah.
to a different color, and it would it would make a big impact. That's funny. Maybe the word is just subtle, psychologically stuck in my head from the Impact Game Jam. You make a big impact. Yes.
Going down.
Yes, Hodel Hill. You can ask a question unrelated to the Game Jam.
Okay. All right. Good. 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 We need more plastic. And then we can start generating metal, I think. I need 35 plastic. There we go. We got it. We got it. Tier 3. What? Wait, how much metal did it need? 15 metal! Ah! I thought it only needed 1.
One?
I don't know.
One
I don't know.
metal.
I think it generates 1. I saw the 1 and went, oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
There you go. You got 17. You're good.
Okay. All right. So now we're generating that. We need to start working on a second generator. Environment's really low though. That's gonna be something we're gonna need to upgrade. But first, food. Swim faster. Okay, all right, food is positive. Energy is dropping, environment is dropping. What do I have? Not enough plastic.
Well,
Environment's going up, energy. It's right there. Energy's still dropping. Not enough plastic.
environment immediately started dropping when you solved for
Yeah.
energy. Energy's going up. You were good.
Cutting it close. Okay, all right. We're good. We're good. Whoo! Whoo! We need more plastic.
You're doing all right.
We need more
It's
plastic.
fine. It's probably fine. You know, it's basically
It's all
perfect,
good.
actually.
It's all good. It's all good.
So I'm noticing that community health number is definitely not going up.
I mean, I think maybe it's just very slow to go up.
It's been at 6 for my entire life. You know what I mean?
Can this do a tier 4? Max upgraded. Okay, and I'm gonna need more plastic.
Yeah, you should upgrade your. Oof. I mean, you are doing it now. Day 5 or whatever. There it is.
What's dropping? Food's dropping.
Energy's dropping. Look at that. Food's still dropping.
Oh no! Oh no! I need more food.
Energy's
Cancel!
food.
Food! No!
Oh
My
no!
energy and environment was good, but I didn't get to food fast enough.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why has
And
it
you
been
had reserve
fast
on both
rappers?
energy and environment. On almost no food. You know, that's good. That's a good. It's a good. It's almost 2 p.m. my local time after 3 hours of this lovely
I know.
Impact Game Jam Awards
Oh,
ceremony.
I feel. What was there? Was it 7 days? Was the goal, or was there no end? I don't remember.
Oh, I have no idea. if there was an
Sanja,
end game or not.
did it keep going, or was there a stopping point?
I think that's just good
That was
gaming, you
intense.
know. I mean,
Survive 7 days is the goal. I think I could have made it if I had gotten to food faster. I didn't realize how fast food was dropping that round. My other levels were okay.
yeah.
Um, Huddle
Yeah, and
asks
I'm
if
gonna
any
paste the
sandbox
link
or council staff is heading to
post.
Rare Evo in August. I'm not familiar with Rare Evo, so I don't know
I'm
about
gonna link
sandbox
it
staff. I don't think I'm going.
one more time. That game that just won first place in this Impact Game Jam is already live on the map at Sandbox
There we
Game,
go.
where you can play it yourself as well. I put the link in the chat on twitch.tv. So if you want to check it out, Floating Haven is the name of the game. You can also search for it on the map if you're watching on other platforms.
Sanja
Play it
did
right
said
now.
they made it a little bit easier for what's
Yeah.
live on the map. So
Yep.
you may
And
not.
you always finished at 100 health. See, that's the thing, right? As a dev, we know exactly what the balance levels are. So
Mm,
because you designed the game, you already knew that on level 1 you needed to have a total of 3 more upgrades, or like on day 2 you needed to have a total of 3 more upgrades for each resource generator. You probably also knew the math and why you made it so that those collectors collected a certain amount of wood and plastic and metals. You know, it makes sense, but from an outside perspective, there's nothing that literally, like, you have to remember that for your players, at least for the beginning of the game, you literally have to slap them across the face with, this is exactly the math we used as devs, you know,
hmm
in order for it to be playable at the early part. And then once you've given them all of the information, you've spoon fed it to them, then you can make the game go faster and be more difficult and ramp up that skill required to make things work. Um, but yeah, without that knowledge, you could see here on this show, this is exactly the same sort of thing we experienced when we were playtesting it. At least myself, I think Panda and I played this at the same time, or roughly at the same time, and we were kind of going back and forth talking about it as some of those game jam judges. And yeah, it was the sort of the same thing where it was like, what do I have to think about? And I relied heavily on those resource generators because I literally didn't know I could jump off the island. I was just like, if I build, and I'm doing that math the whole time as I was playing through, trying to figure it out. So there's definitely some balance checks that you've seen here, and the game's great. Love to
hmm
see it. Congratulations on winning.
uh,
One
Extreme
more round.
Arcader had a question. Well, they said they had a question. Always ask a question. Never ask if you can ask a question. Just ask questions. Something about the game rules. So, do you mean like the in rules in the game maker, or rules for the game jam? What's your question? Maybe I can answer it quickly. If not, we can take a look at it on the Tuesday Builders Challenge accepted stream that I do.
Alex, you're liking this game, aren't you?
I am liking this game.
Really?
I mean, it's ticking off the right like risk reward
Mm-hmm.
check boxes that my brain needs to go, like, I'm in danger, but I can solve it. Oh no, I'm in danger
Yeah.
again, but I can still solve it.
Yeah.
And you just keep on fighting for survival. I mean, that's built into our DNA as living creatures, right? Trying to fight for our
Sure.
survival, and I felt it. My heart rate was elevated, blood pressure up just a little bit, not dangerous levels. My blood pressure is pretty good. Of all the things, my blood pressure is
Well,
usually fine.
yep. Alex has a heart attack here live on the show.
No, that was when
Well, that game was
that's
difficult.
when Felicity snuck up behind me. Did you see that clip?
I didn't. I did not.
Oh, I got it. I got it somewhere here. It was on stream just last week, and she walked into the office, and I did not hear her at all. Well, actually, she had been like playing in the with my Legos in the other room, and I had thought I had heard the door, but it was like an hour or two before, and I did not know, and then somebody clipped it. I don't remember who clipped it. Where'd it go? Here it is. I found it. I found it. Let me make sure that y'all can hear the browser. Here we go. All right. Well, that won't work because it's an. Oh, good grief! She's giggling behind me, but she
How
like.
long were you there for?
I had no idea that she was in the room with me until she
grief.
touched my shoulder, and I was like,
Yeah, that was great. That was great. You could feel it.
So I
Yeah.
feel it.
felt you against my.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what'll give me a heart attack is that. But no, playing a game, not so much. Except for Visage that one time. That messed me up for like 3 days. That jump
The
scare.
Backrooms Game Jam got me pretty good a few times.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. There were definitely some suspenseful moments there where you go around the corner and you're like, I gotta go.
Oh, Extreme Arcader, I saw your question earlier and I meant to respond to it and I missed other things happened and I forgot. So can you add JSON files in the Game Maker for creating game rules? That is only for I think it's only for the rules. You can copy and paste, and I'm trying to remember exactly where it is, but it's pretty clear where you can do it, and all the places where you don't see that option, it's not available right now. And I'm trying to remember if it's in. I think it's in the rules specifically that you can copy and paste a JSON file. If this thing loads. Come on, you got it. You got it. Go, go, go.
Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. We're gonna load it all the way to 90%, and then the last 10% will actually be the full entirety of the 100%.
At least we get the music. There we go. It wanted to wait for the crescendo in the music. So yeah, you go to gameplay, game rules, and then you put in whatever, and then your option to copy. Where is it? Is it just? I feel it's not actually there. Is it here? It's a new feature that I haven't used practically yet. So my brain has not quite. I learned through doing things, so more than like reading them. So I know that I read how to do this, and then I think I showed it once on stream when it first came out. Is it just Control C? Oh yeah, it says it on the screen. It says copied. So that will give you. That will give you a copyable, pastable thing there. So we paste this, and we can see that this is, not super easy to read, but the point is not for you to be able to read it. It's for you to be able to come back in here and hit Control V, and then you can paste out those rules as many times as you want. And that means you can take those rules to other games too. And I believe you can even copy. I think you can copy the whole bulk of what's in here. So if we hit Control C with the whole group selected, yeah, it says copied. So this is when it's just the one little window there with the one math, but now we should have 4. Yeah, that's a lot more. So if you make a whole complicated rule set, you can copy that. And so it's just Control C and Control V, or if you're on a Mac, it would be Command C, Command V. And that's how you copy and paste the rules to wherever you need them to go. And it's only with the rules right now. It doesn't work with behaviors or with objectives. And that's how you do that. All right. Well, thank you, Joe. Thanks for hanging out, giving all your valuable feedback on our winners' games. Congratulations to our winners, our honorable mentions, and our Wizzy the Orange Hat winner.
Well, thank you, Alex.
VVMVV.
Yep. In the chat, they were Meta VVMVV.
Okay.
I saw them earlier.
All right.
Yep. In and out.
So have a great weekend, everybody. Joe, when's the next time people can catch you on the GMAE show?
This coming Monday.
All
Actually,
right.
we're going to be playing the Impact Game Jam games that made it into the honorable mentions to hopefully help some of those folks
All right.
understand how they can make it into those top tens. So we'll be covering all those notes that we did not cover on this show.
All right. And I will be back on Tuesday with Challenge Accepted, a 4-hour stream where I work on games for the Builders Challenge and help you all come up with game mechanics, troubleshoot problems you're having, and we just help each other out as builders in the sandbox. Speaking of the sandbox, let's see if there's anybody that we can raid. Any live channels playing the sandbox right now? I see us, and sometimes people stream to the old sandbox. Let's see if anybody's on there. I'm not seeing anybody else live, so we're just going to call it a weekend. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your Sunday. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
See ya.